best from 2004. The Lightning arsenal is deep, but some would be surprised to see that Vinny Prospal is their top gun.
I'm not. Vinny Prospal is a real streaky guy, and he's on top of this game right now. Prospal's the type of guy who can make plays out of nothing. He's especially effective from the hash marks in and from the corners walking out. He uses almost a dead straight stick, which you would think this thing, nobody can shoot with this stick, but he's got 3 goals from last night's game against Philadelphia, and he has great chemistry with Vinny Lecavalier. Brad Richards, the other center for the Tampa Bay Lightning, is outstanding as well. He can make plays to his wingers as well as anybody in the game. And on the point on the power play, Brad Richards can thread the puck through or make a blazing slap shot. He is the MVP, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner from the playoffs in 03-04. 2 outstanding offensive threats for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And back to Prospal for a moment. He's the beneficiary of some fine feeds from Vincent Lecavalier, who's ringside with our Chris Simpson.
Vinny, after 6 straight losses, how do you guys build off of the big win last night against the Flyers?
Last night we played very different from our 6 losses. I mean, we came out hard. We played with a lot of intensity. It was like a playoff game for us. I mean, we didn't want to go 7 straight. And, I think Philly was the best team for us. I mean, it was a high-intensity game. It was a great game.
How do you adjust now knowing that Martin St. Louis is going to be out of your lineup for the next 2 to 4 weeks?
Well, it's tough. I mean, Marty's a big part of our team. But, it's we still got to play. And tonight's a big game for us. Washington's got, some good players and a good team. So we have to play like last night. If we do, I think we have a good chance of winning.
Vinny, good luck for this, and thanks.
Thank you.
Now let's send it back to Bill in the OLN studios.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Our plates are full tonight. Marquee matchups all over the NHL, including the Carolina Hurricanes in Ottawa. The New York Rangers are in Toronto, and out west, LA Kings, #1 in the Pacific Division. They're in Nashville taking on the Predators. But in Washington, the Marquee says, come and see our star. He is Alexander Ovechkin, and he is taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Back to our studio after this. And hi, everybody. Welcome to our OLN studio. Bill Clement along with Keith Jones and Neil Smith. We'll have you out to the Washington-Tampa Bay game shortly. The Tampa Bay Lightning had lost 6 consecutive games last night. They won at home. The big question is, does that mean that they've stopped the bleeding, Jonesy?
Not yet. They need better goaltending. Last night, John Graham got the victory and played well, but their goaltending's been weak. They only allow a league-low 24 shots on goal a night. Their goaltenders are asked to only make a few saves. They're quality saves at that, but they need those saves that Hobby Bula made a year ago or 2 years ago. They're not getting it yet.
And you know where they might be able to get them? Right in the stands tonight at the MCI Center. That's where Olaf Kolzig probably is due to an injury. This is the guy that Jay Feaster has to go after. He's the one guy that George McPhee wouldn't trade last year when he went on his rebuilding program. So Ole Kolzig is a big key for somebody coming into the playoff drive, and it could be the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And Tampa Bay just lost a couple of days ago. Their little guy that was the MVP in 03-04, Marty St. Louis. He hadn't really been a major factor in anything that Tampa Bay had done this year, but nevertheless, you got to consider this. Broken finger out for a number of weeks, a big loss.
Huge loss. Huge loss. He was just getting his game going back to the level it was a couple of years back. He's a great hockey player, has great speed, would be great in the new NHL. They're going to miss him a lot.
Okay, speaking of greatness, Alexander Ovechkin has it written all over him playing for the Washington Caps, and it's the Caps and the Tampa Bay Lightning. We send you now to Washington, to Joe Beninati and Brian Engblom. Gents.
Bill, thank you very much. Your point about Ole Kolzig, well said, Neil Smith. Ole Kolzig is in the stands. He is hoping to be back in play for Washington on Thursday. Sean Burke gets the call for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Brian, it's his 4th start of the season, 3 of them against the Capitals.
Yeah, and he's been hurt, so he's coming back off the shelf here, a .906 save percentage for big Sean Burke. And Brent Johnson in net for the Washington Capitals. His 2nd consecutive start, coming off a 3-2 loss to the New Jersey Devils.
28-year-old Michigan native Brent Johnson working against the veteran Sean Burke. We are underway in D.C. The Capitals here at home in the black sweaters with Steve Eminger in possession. And Eminger has rocketed up the defensive scoring list this season. A bit of a surprise even to his head coach, Glenn Hanlon. As Jeff Halpern will play it on down. Halpern centering the line with Matt Pettinger and Chris Clark to get things going. Vincent Lecavalier out there with the red-hot Vinny Prospal and Ruslan Fedotenko. This is Pettinger tapping on for Clark. Clark, very combative winger, would have played against the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals in 04 with Calgary.
The Washington Capitals feel that they're playing pretty decent 5-on-5. It hasn't really hurt them. What's hurt them is the special teams. And right now you could say the same thing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It'll be interesting to see how this game develops penalty-wise. We've seen so many games, virtually every game in the NHL this year, where power plays and penalty killing have been a huge factor, and both these teams are struggling in that department.
Boys in the studio mentioned Martin St. Louis missing. Dmitry Afanasenkov out there 29 in white taking his place on this top line for head coach John Tortorella. Afanasenkov with that wrister flagged down by Johnson.
John Tortorella a little bit happier after a 6-game losing streak. It's the longest one in years for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They played a good, strong game last night home against Philadelphia, and it's a long trip from Tampa up here, Joe. After a game, they didn't get into the hotel room until about 2:30. They did not skate this morning, gave everybody the morning off, just get a little bit of rest. So freshness may be a factor here for the Lightning as they go on.
Taylor takes that drive. It's squeezed by Johnson. This is a Capitals team, though, Brian, that greatly respects Tim Taylor and friends. They said, you know what, they could have bust up from Tampa. They knew they were going to be tough tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about that. They have some talent here. Tim Taylor taking the puck off the wall. It's the little plays and the turnovers along the wall in offensive zones that make the difference, and Washington will have to keep an eye on situations like that.
John Tortorella really thought that the Grinders played well last evening as Tampa Bay snapped out of that lengthy losing skid. They still have dropped their last 4 on the road. They've been outscored 17-9 in the process. As we dip into the second minute of play here at MCI Center in Washington, D.C., the NHL on OLN. Alexander Ovechkin on ice, working the left flank with Brooks Light and Brian Wilsey out there in black for Washington. Taylor, former Washington Capitals property, on the dump in with Tortorella asking for the line change. The game's first 2 shots on net belonging to the Bolts. Dangerous clearing attempt. Yikes, Ivan Majewski got crossed up.
I don't think he was ready for that play. All of a sudden he panicked and just sort of threw it out into the crease of his own net.
Jakob Klepish working in. Light kicks it into the corner. Alexander Ovechkin burrowing to the front. He put it right on through the goal mouth. Jamie Heward will step back in there to keep it alive for just a second. And the veteran Dave Andrechuk, and I mean veteran, now top 5 all-time NHL games played. The Lightning captain. Even in full strength, Nolan Pratt keeps it moving. Andrew Castles is back into the lineup. Heward with a rocket. It darted wide of Sean Burke. Castles had been a healthy scratch for the last 5 games for head coach Glenn Hanlon.
Castles is a real experienced guy, but what's happened to him over the last couple of years is the pace of the game has changed things for him, and he's had trouble staying in the lineup because of it.
And all the players, to a man throughout the NHL, say that the new NHL is a speed game. Glenn Hanlon says that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The players think it's faster, therefore they play at a quicker tempo.
Yeah, and that's true. It's an interesting way to look at it, exactly. If you get told something time and time again, you make it true just by saying that.
Chris Clark in ahead of the playoff side. Some breaking news around the NHL. And Brian, it concerns the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are off to a 5-13 start.
A big blockbuster deal here. Sergei Fedorov is now a Columbus Blue Jacket. Tyler Wright and Francois Beauchemin going to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim from Columbus. So for the Blue Jackets, who have struggled, and I followed them, I worked for the team doing the telecast for them, Sergei Fedorov will be a welcome addition, to say the very least. He is a super talented center iceman, and that's the area that the Blue Jackets have been looking to make changes in since early on in the season. So be an exciting game tomorrow night. Fedorov will be in the lineup against St. Louis.
Moving in, LeCavalier, and he hit the post. Vincent LeCavalier got free and just missed on the finish. Sergei Fedorov will turn 35 in mid-December. 3-time Stanley Cup winner with Detroit. Huge playoff totals, and he'll bring all that flash and dash to Columbus for the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, Fedorov's the type of player who can just dominate a game. He controls the puck, he controls the environment, and he scares the heck out of the opposition defense. All things that the Blue Jackets are looking for because they're having such trouble scoring goals.
Brad Richards will keep it in there deep as we are just past the 4-minute mark. The scoreless first period on OLN. This is Sean Morrison to play it around. Morrison using the woodwork to get it on down. It'll come the length, and it's icing on the touch-up by Sador.
Well, the Washington Capitals are going to have to keep track of Vincent LeCavalier. This line with LeCavalier and Prospero and Fedotenko most of the time is outstanding. They make great plays. The Power 8 goal cam shows you what happened for Brent Johnson in trying to fight off number 4. Excellent work with the stick as well as the feet of Vincent LeCavalier. who is so talented in so many ways, and he's so big. I mean, once he gets a step on you like that, there's no way you're going to be able to get the puck back to him.
6'4", better than 225 pounds now at 25 years of age. Vincent Lecavalier has matured nicely into an NHL pro. He won't miss many of those semi-breaks. He's the all-time leader in goals and points for the Lightning. Brent Johnson will wait. And here's Sean Morrison, a very gifted skater. Grew up in Western Canada in the Vancouver area, idolizing Cam Neely, who was recently inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Corey Saric's clearing attempt won't go far. The Caps try to take away the middle of the ice. Give the Lightning a little bit of their own medicine. Ovechkin came up high and was there with a crunching body blow to Saric. Alexander Ovechkin working with Brooks Laich and Brian Willsey here. Ovechkin funnels one to the front. Hewitt, a spinning drive that was blocked by Seaback. Seaback, a beautiful goal in last night's triumph on home ice for the Lightning as they down the Flyers. We've got a penalty call coming here. It'll be marked down at 5:26 of period number 1, and referee Dan Maruelli makes this call.
Well, first penalty goes against the Washington Capitals. Ooh, looks like a cross-check. We'll see what the final call is there. Brian Willsey is in the penalty box. So the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's boarding call, I believe. Boarding, it could have been cross-checking or boarding. And Tampa Bay Lightning with a chance to go on their power play. And a strange set of circumstances, really, for Tampa. When you look at the roster and the type of talent that they have on it, they just haven't done very well. They are 27th in the National Hockey League on the power play, and that just doesn't seem right. They've scored 15 goals. The top power plays in the league have double that number, Joe. And it just seems with the Richards and the Prospos and the Cavaliers and Boyles, guys like that, that they should have a lot more goals on this power play.
And the reigning MVP, Martin St. Louis, on the shelf for 2 to 4 weeks with an injured finger. It happened in practice. Daryl Sador hit him with a shot. And Ryan, you were telling me that injury can be excruciatingly painful.
Right on the ring finger of the left hand for Martin St. Louis, and it just basically explodes the end of the finger. It's incredibly painful, and it'll be a couple of weeks at least for Martin St. Louis on the shelf.
Kubina's pass scuttled there by Halper, and Lecavalier keeps it going. Crossball, career best 10-game point streak in effect tonight. Lecavalier with a blast, and that hit Eminger. The ricochet to Dan Boyle. Boyle's been scoring at a pretty good clip in the last 2 weeks. Boyle plays it on back for Kubina, who has never scored against the Washington Capitals. He fumbled it out to center.
And you can see there isn't a whole lot of flow, even by the talented guys here on this power play. The good power plays that I've seen around the league, it's about one-touch passing. It's about moving it a couple of times, and as soon as you get an open lane, fire the puck at the net. Doesn't matter if it's Ottawa or Detroit or Los Angeles or any team that's having any success on the power play. When they get those open corridors, you have to pull the trigger very quickly, because every team in the league now, their penalty killers are extremely good at getting in the shooting lane. They front the puck very well, block shots if you wait too long and try to make a too predetermined play on it. You have to get it away quick.
It's a good point. Johnson leaves the crease to play it. And woo, he slipped that off the meshing. Will that be a delay of game? No. The officials are going to say that that was deflected. So it will not be delay of game against the Capitals netminder. Therefore, Tampa has the power play for another 48 seconds.
Well, there's a look at Brad Richards. He can play up front. He can play on the point, on the power play. One of the most talented men in the National Hockey League. You don't win the Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP in the playoffs without being outstanding under pressure. And Brad Richards was truly outstanding throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs 2 years ago.
He wins the draw there back to Boyle. Covered by Sean Morrison, whose plus-minus has gone up and up in the last few weeks for Washington. The future of the Washington Capitals blue line really in the hands of Steve Eminger and Sean Morrison.
And good skating young defensemen. That's what the National Hockey League is all about. I mean, you have to be able to get back the pucks fast on defense now and turn around and make good plays. You can't just dump it off the glass and hope for something good to happen.
Fedotenko, Modine, and Richards on ice right now as this one leaves the rink. Ruslan Fedotenko, the Lightning are looking for more consistency from him.
Alexander Ovechkin, we talked about his size and his power. Anytime somebody is susceptible for a hit, he takes them out. That was Brad Richards, who was on the receiving end of that one. He wouldn't have liked that one too much. And Brad Richards is a feisty guy, and he's a competitive guy, too. So you can look for Richards to turn around and try and catch Ovechkin later on in this game and return that favor.
It's such a breath of fresh air here in Washington to see a player explosive in the goal-scoring department and explosive physically. Ovechkin has really charmed himself to the Washington Capitals hockey fans in D.C. Matt Bradley back on it. Dangerously in front of his own cage. The Caps survive the first Lightning power play. We're back to even and full strength. Along with Chris Simpson and Brian Engblom, I'm Joe Beninati. This is the NHL on OLN. Wilsey cranks it up. Deflected by Boyle off the ring. No score in our nation's capital. Back for more in a moment. Washington and Tampa Bay.
Brendan Witt is an interesting guy. He told the Washington Capitals he wanted to be traded. He sold his house here in Washington. He has his house in Florida, and that's where he's living out of. That's where his family is. He's been here 9 years, and he said, if you guys are going to rebuild, I want to go somewhere where I have a chance to win. When he makes his mind up about something, boy, it stays made up. 94-95 season should have been his first year of professional hockey, but he couldn't come to contract terms with the Washington Capitals, so he sat out the entire year. So when you're at odds with Brendan Witt, then you know you're up against it. But he's a very strong player. He's a physical player. But the organization is saying, okay, well, we might accommodate you, but we're going to wait to make sure we get some value for you. We're just not going to make it happen right away because you want it.
And that's been the stance for General Manager George McPhee from the get-go. And stay with us, Caps fans and NHL fans. Our Chris Simpson will have the opportunity to talk with the Capitals Vice President and General Manager as this game progresses here at MCI Center. The Caps and the Lightning, third of 8 regular season meetings. This is an icing call. The Washington Capitals are rebuilding, and they're seeing some of the fruits of that rebuilding.
Yeah, there's 4 guys in the lineup: Fleischmann, Leich, Kleppisch, and Morrison, that are all results of trades from major players. Peter Bondra, Lang, Greer, Gonchar, all these guys used to be with the Washington Capitals, and they made deals. They were unloading salary. It was about revamping and reorganizing this team. And from the Washington Capitals fan standpoint, it's good to see that these young players are actually in the lineup. One of them's 20, one's 21, and 2 of the guys are 22 years old. So this is big part of the future of the Washington Capitals, and they're already out there playing.
High-scoring Jaromir Jagr was missing from that graphic. Jagr turned into Anson Carter, turned into Jared Allen. Some of the Caps fans felt that Washington cut too deep too soon. That's been a point of contention. This Washington team comes in at 6-11. The Lightning 1 below break even at 8-9-2.
Change is always painful, especially when it's big-name players that are leaving.
Matt Pettinger really embodies the energetic forecheck style that Glenn Hanlon wants. He put a crunching hit on there. Working with Halpern and Clark now in the black sweaters. Pratt comes a-calling on Brendan Witt. Still looking for the first red light on the day. No score between the Caps and the Lightning in D.C. Vinny Prospal, fresh from his second career hat trick an evening ago at the Philadelphia Flyers' expense. John Tortorella will change him up. The Lightning were making the case to keep their line shifts short going into play this week. They thought that they were getting a little bit too long-winded. Clymer, the former Lightning Bolt, out there playing the forward ranks for the Caps. Bradley to the front. That was snared and played away. Modine and Richards and Afanasenkov out there in white for Tampa if you're just tuning in. NHL on OLN.
Good play, man.
Brent Johnson filling in for an ailing Ole Kolzig. It's listed as a hamstring injury. And Godzilla plans to be back in the cage perhaps as early as Thursday when Washington goes to Buffalo.
Yeah, he said this morning he was feeling pretty good. He's looking for a couple of days now in a row. Took a lot of shots, stayed on the ice a long time this morning. He said he's getting real close to coming back.
Ole was busy during the lockout. He fought his old junior team with Stu Barnes. Was a goalie consultant slash coach during the time away. Was mentoring Carey Price, a fine future NHL standout. Even in full strength right now for the Lightning and the Capitals as we're more than halfway home in the opening frame. And Boyle. Meandering around Brian Muir. Modine, tremendous slap shot. This time he tries the backhander right on through. Boyle sends it on the way, and Johnson had the goalie stick ready. Dan Boyle wears that 22. Used to idolize Rick Tocchet. Grew up a Philadelphia Flyer fan, Boyle did in the Ottawa area.
Dan Boyle's a really talented guy. He's got great wheels, excellent offensive skills, and he was a big part of that championship team, the Tampa Bay Lightning in 03-04.
Tomas Fleischmann right on in. A weak drive that was answered by Sean Burke. That's Washington's first shot on goal of the day. No score in D.C. Back with more hard-hitting NHL on OLN right after this.
Welcome back to the MCI Center, where no score so far in the first. Now, did you ever wonder how players choose the numbers they wear? Well, in the case of Alexander Ovechkin, his number 8 is actually a tribute to his mother, Tatiana. She wore number 8 when she was a member of the Soviet women's basketball team. They won 2 gold medals at the 76 and 1980 Olympics. Today, she is the president of the Dynamo women's basketball team in Moscow. So far, she's been the most celebrated athlete in the Ovechkin family, but guys, I have a feeling that's all about to change.
Yeah, oh, that's for sure.
In a big way, and I think she's happy about it too. And you got that sense, at least we did, seeing mom and dad over here making sure that Alexander assimilated into the DC community very well at the outset of the season. Castle's looking for the late guy. One more time for Eminger. Looking for a screen to develop. Alexander Ovechkin's point totals have caught everyone's eye in the first 6 weeks of the NHL. Morrison's blast was blocked. The rebound was chopped wide of Sean Burke, who's spelling John Graham again in the cage for Tampa Bay. Eminger with a blast that went wide. Rebound for Morrison, and that it was Halpern who sent it wide with the Caps on a power play here. Corey Sarge in the box for another 70 seconds. You look at the special teams numbers for these two squads. Halpern, the Caps captain. Majority of his points have come here on home ice as the Lightning spill it back to center.
Jeff Halpern has great vision. He has outstanding ability to thread passes down low. When he gets the puck under control, number 11 can feed it through either back to the point or anybody in front of the net. His favorite target most of the time is Ovechkin.
This is Wilsey this time. That hit a boot in front. It was Halpern who was parked there. And now Richards will streak back one-on-one. Richards winds and fires, and it's a glove save for Johnson.
What a save that was, because even in a short-handed situation, Richards has got a terrific shot. You saw him turn the Jets on, flying down that wing. Oh, good thing that one was offside. Alexander Ovechkin in on the play as well. Oh, pulled that puck, tucked it in, and was headed to the net except for the whistle being blown. Here's a look at Brad Richards blasting down the wing. He took one look into the middle of the ice. Eminger was the lone defenseman back. He just kept him to the outside. But at full flight like that, when you can transfer the energy that your body has into the shot, you can get an extra 10 or 15 miles an hour on that shot. And Brad Richards really laced into that one.
Andrechuk in a shorthanded penalty-killing role. The Lightning actually benched Dave Andrechuk in a recent trip through Canada. John Tortorella said don't read too much into it. It's just planned out with David at the outset of the season.
Dave Andrechuk's over 40 years old, and he's had an unbelievable career. But at the same time, he was never one of the fastest skaters when he was 20 years old, never mind 40. So they have to pick spots for Dave Andrechuk, give him some rest, and let him catch up physically sometimes.
Lightning began this season, Brian, 96% effective on the penalty kill. That's slipped during this recent skid. They've actually allowed 14 power play goals in the last 7, but they stopped and handled the first shorthanded situation of the night. As we have the Caps and Lightning deadlocked at 0, icing against the Caps.
Look at Danny Boyle. We talked about him and the defenseman for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've had a little bit of a sort of a readjustment back there too. They had to readjust the combinations that they had. Sador and Kubina had been together so much, and that situation had to be changed.
There you see our Dodge intermission report. What's coming up? We'll talk Ovechkin. We'll talk players of the week and get some reaction on that deal involving Sergei Fedorov going to Columbus. If you missed it, that deal has just been announced here in D.C. and now throughout the wire.
Yeah, that'll be a shocker. It'll catch the attention of a lot of people around the National Hockey League when a big name player like Fedorov goes from Anaheim to Columbus.
Back-to-back nights of NHL action on OLN. We're here with the Capitals and Lightning. Tomorrow night, Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Boys in the studio, Bill Clement, Neil Smith, Keith Jones, telling you more about that matchup. Another chance for the nation to see Sidney Crosby, who Mario Lemieux, matter of factly, has said has been our best player. And when 66 says that about you, you should feel honored.
Yeah, he works hard. Sidney Crosby has got all kinds of talent, but he's also usually the hardest working player on the ice. That's what really makes him successful.
Just tuning in, Washington in the dark sweaters. Clark to the front, armed away by Burke. Brendan Witt to the front. There's Paul Ranger stationed there for the Lightning. And they'll counterattack now at even strength with 6 minutes to go in the opening period. Ruslan Fedotenko run off by Eminger. Caps will get reorganized. Sarge taking care of that. LeCavalier ahead. Crossball 2-on-1. Crossball's pass blocked by a sprawling Brendan Witt.
Outstanding play by Brendan Witt there. He was at the mercy of Crossball, but he outwitted him, laying that shaft of the stick down on the ice and knocking it away.
The Lightning love these combination passing plays out of the corner. Working the cycle, LeCavalier and Crossball. Hemmed in by Eminger. And he'll just ladle it on around. Clark with Sador pinching in. Just able to flex it back to center. A little bit more than 5 minutes to go in a scoreless first period. Very low shots on goal total. Tampa Bay outshooting Washington to this point 4-3.
Yeah, neither team has really been dazzling on offense. There's been a lot of play, a lot of attempts coming up the ice, but there's also been a fair number of icings in this game. I've been through a lot of games this year, Joe. I don't know about you, where there have been maybe one icing in an entire period.
Sharp angle drive by Seaback, and a sprawling Brent Johnson made that save and lost his stick in the process. No harm done as Burke paddle it back along. Capitals in the midst of a line change. Ivan Majewski just back into the Washington lineup after a lengthy absence, rehabilitating from a torn ACL. This is an icing against Washington. They're defending the Tampa Bay Lightning with all that offensive firepower. Crossball and LeCavalier will explain their explosiveness in a moment.
And this little reminder at the end of the first period, our Dodge Intermission Report, we will talk about the big trade. Sergei Fedorov is on the move. We will also have some of Chris Simpson's conversation with one of the new young stars in the NHL, Alexander Ovechkin. That's all after the first on our Dodge Intermission Report. Now back to Joe and Brian in Washington. Gents?
Bill, we appreciate it. Look forward to it. 4:33 to go in this one. The Caps and the Lightning opening period of play. The two teams have split their first two get-togethers. Brad Richards and the Lightning lost here in a shootout despite outshooting Washington 40-14 as Ranger tests Brent Johnson. Brian, some guys just work together so very well with one another, and Crossball and LeCavalier do that.
They have a chemistry which is hard to recreate. Vinny Prospal's so glad to be back in Tampa. He spent a year in Anaheim, being back now. He and LeCavalier picked it up right away. 23 goals between the two of them. And Prospal with 13 goals already, Joe. He had 19 goals for the whole season in Anaheim 2 years ago. That just shows you how happy he is. He likes the style of play that they play here in Tampa, and Vinny Prospal is showing it all over the place.
Prospal by himself, Brian, better than 46% of the Lightning points. When they put up a goal, he's involved in more than 46% of it by himself. It has been a super first 6 weeks of the fall for Prospal, the 30-year-old native of the Czech Republic.
They are so good down low around the net. He and LeCavalier. LeCavalier is a big guy. He is strong. He's matured so much. When they get the puck anywhere near the nets or from the hash marks on down, they make tremendous plays with each other.
Tomas Fleischmann working with Jakub Klepish and Andrew Castle. As the Caps work it in the offensive zone, Majewski's wrister went wide. Klepish and Fleischmann were youth hockey adversaries in the Czech Republic, and then they became teammates and good friends on World Junior teams and American Hockey League teams, and now pretty much making their NHL debuts on a line together here in Washington. On the fly, it's Dingman. Chris Dingman just barreling on through Morrison. Klepish on the relay.
That's the kind of stuff that Chris Dingman has to do. If you're going to take a run at Dingman, you better make sure that you're standing on both feet pretty solidly. Sean Morrison just found that out. Glenn Hanlon has done a really good job with this team in the short time that he's been here. He said the one thing that we really wanted to do this year is just start some chemistry, get some chemistry. And you know what? They've got it. Joe, you see these guys all the time. They've got an extremely young team, but they've got a really good locker room, and that was backed up by a conversation that you and I had with Ole Kolzig, a goaltender who's been around for a long time. These young guys really like each other. They're having fun. They're learning fast. And Glenn Hanlon, being a young coach, is the right guy in that situation to handle it.
Ole wishes he could have this chemistry 2 or 3 years ago when the dynamic of the team was a little bit different, to say the least. Penalty here against Washington. Power play for Tampa Bay. The Lightning have power play goals in 4 of their last 6. They've dropped 6 of their last 7 overall. Boyle, usually that power play quarterback, carries the mail. LeCavalier on the overload. Crossball peeking. Kubina has a very hard shot at the point. Lightning minus the services of Martin St. Louis. One of the places they'll miss him right here. Kubina from long range, knockdown, follow-up chance. Johnson got that one too on Prospal.
Good job by the Caps to get the loose pucks there too. I think that was Brendan Witter who eventually got to it. When those shots come from the point, if they get through, it's about who gets the rebound first in many cases as to what happens in the situation after that. Brent Johnson, the goaltender, going down, smothering things, taking things away low, and hoping that his defenseman can do something on the rebound afterwards.
Lecavalier exchanging with Prospal. Vincent Lecavalier rakes it on back. Kubina fires, deflected down in front. Johnson was spinning around looking for it just as the defense came to the rescue.
And Danny Boyle, the defenseman, was down in front of the net. He's the one that got hit by that shot. I think it hit him in the back of the ribs or in the back of the arm, but he is staying out there.
2 minutes separating us from our Dodge intermission report. The NHL on OLN this evening in Washington, D.C. The Caps and Lightning, no score. Tail end of a Tampa Bay power play. Andrechuk, more power play goals than anyone in NHL history. 25 in the white, lurking in front. Boyle winds and drives, and that one got a taste of Eminger. Richards pulls a quick trigger. Head save Johnson. Andrechuk digging for the rebound. No sail.
Great job there by Johnson because Dave Andrechuk knows what he's doing in front of the net. He couldn't get it over that pad.
A mountain of a man. Andrechuk has made his living in that crease for a long time.
Johnson's in a total eclipse when Andrechuk just kind of spreads those feet, leans on his stick. There's no way you're going to move the big number 25.
Castle's out of the penalty box. Washington back to even strength. Here comes Ovechkin full flight. Turns the corner, dipping that shoulder. And Sean Burke has it for the whistle.
I'm not so sure that Sean Burke knew he had it for the whistle there for a second, but he did the smart thing. Don't move, it might be over the line. Alexander Ovechkin with terrific speed, one of the many qualities that he has. He turned on the afterburners there, trying to lean in and protect the puck. Did a really nice job there against Corey Sarich. He used his right foot to screen that stick. When Sarich turns, the only thing he can do in desperation is try to whack the puck away with his stick, but it was protected by the foot of Ovechkin.
Brian, the instincts and the deception that he has already at a young age, just remarkable. We remind you to stay tuned for the Dodge Intermission Report coming up on OLN. Back to Bill Clement and friends in the studios in a moment. There's that quick release from Ovechkin, deflected off the rink.
Speed is a very important factor in the National Hockey League. Change of speed is deadly. When you can step on the gas and put the afterburners on and put moves on defensemen, that's what Ovechkin was trying to do. He is capable of doing plays like that.
Sean Burke tells us that Ovechkin reminds him of Pavel Bure with that explosiveness.
That's saying something. That is saying something because Pavel Bure was one of the all-time afterburner skaters.
Bure, Burke went on to say, preferred that big slap shot, whereas Ovechkin has a very quick release snap wrister that he fancies.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ovechkin almost never takes slap shots, does he? He likes to score his goals from in close and get that puck away quickly.
A whistle and a tripping call coming here late. Big Evgeny Artukin going slowly to the penalty box. Dan Maruelli's going to carry him there.
That'd be a load, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Artukin is 6'5", rather, 254 pounds. And he ended up getting tripped up on the play. Oh, that was, no wonder he had such a desperate, disconsolate look on his face. He's thinking, hey, I got half tripped up, and I end up getting the tripping penalty. What gives with that?
Washington, a late power play chance to frame. Bradley closing in from that sharp angle, and again, Burke was forced to hold the post. 24 seconds to go in the first period. Tampa Bay out shooting Washington 11-4.
Good job by Bradley there, just bursting in off the bat. Even though it's a bad angle, with time winding down, taking a shot from a bad angle is not a bad thing.
Brooks Like will keep it in there deep. Nolan Pratt in hot pursuit. Richards there to support. Down to 4 seconds to go. Andrechuk carefully keeps it along the boards, and the siren sounds. Washington and Tampa Bay, no score after one. Brent Johnson and Sean Burke, their slates nice and clean. 20 minutes complete from our nation's capital. The Dodge Intermission Report is set to roll your way as we leave MCI Center and send you back to Bill Clement. An evening ago, the Tampa Bay Lightning snapped a 6-game losing skid. It was the longest skid by a defending Stanley Cup champion since the Devils in 2001. They looked sharp last night and they are sharp so far in a scoreless struggle with Washington. Joe Beninati, Brian Engblom with you. And Brian, last night the win over Philadelphia for Tampa, it was fueled by Vinny Prospal. What's he doing well right now to go on this 10-game point-scoring streak?
Well, he's a streaky guy who has a tremendous amount of talent. I mean, he's so good in the offensive corners, and he just has so much chemistry with Vincent Lecavalier. Number 4 and number 20 are looking for each other all the time. And Prospal is a funny guy. He's a very emotional guy, and he can step up his game right on the spot. In the first period, and keeping an eye on him, you can see him yelling and screaming with his teammates and at his teammates at times. But 3 goals in that game last night. He's riding that energy right now.
Capitals want to pay attention to detail. Their head coach specifically wants to do that. Glenn Hanlon is with Chris Simpson.
Thanks, guys. Glenn, your team was outshot 11-4 in the first. It's a scoreless tie. Are you happy with their performance?
Well, we are. We're doing some things well, and we don't get overly concerned about shots. We're more concerned about scoring chances. We had a couple of penalty kills, which has been our Achilles heel to the start of the season. So we're happy here. We want to get a little better, a few more shots on goal.
Well, they've turned the lights on. I think they're ready. Thanks, Glenn. Guys?
Hey, Chris, thanks. As Coach Hanlon gets back behind the Washington Capitals bench. Washington in the black sweaters. If you're just tuning in with us, the NHL on OLN, originating from MCI Center in Washington, D.C. There's the oldest player on the Caps, Andrew Castles, back into the lineup. Veteran presence, a veteran playmaker, hoping to reignite his offensive game as the Caps begin this second period on a power play. 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Spillover time remaining to a minor for tripping to Evgeny Artukin late in the first period.
It is great to be able to talk to the players and the coaches right in the heat of the battle, too. I think it's outstanding that all the coaches have cooperated so well this season throughout the NHL. When you can get a coach fresh out of his locker room there talking to his troops and tell you what he thinks on the spot.
Jeff Halpern starts it for Washington. Halpern looking to cradle it around Taylor. Throughout his time in the pros, Taylor always a good defensive-minded pivot. Halpern finding Eminger. Out wide, Morrison lets it fly, and Burke with a goalie stick save.
And that was a good quick shot from the point. That's what I'm talking about, getting it through from the point, making sure you don't hit the guy coming out at you. Morrison with the presence of mind to make sure he fed that through right to the Tampa net, but there was no direct screen in front. That's the next stage on your power play. You have to have somebody in front for screens and rebounds.
This scenario too, Brian, where the Caps are missing the services of Jeff Friesen, who's hobbled with a groin muscle injury.
Having Friesen in that situation, he's got outstanding hands. He's good all around the net, whether he's directly in front of the net or sneaking off to the side. Not having Jeff Friesen available hurts the Capitals in their power play.
Caps are able to bring him in just before. Ovechkin waltzes on through and misses a little high.
Oh, when I see moves like that, it makes me glad I'm up here, not down there.
Yeah, yourself a defenseman in the National Hockey League. You don't want to see number 8 coming full blast.
Oh, wow, he put on about 8 moves there. That was incredible.
Alexander Ovechkin's been on everyone's highlight reel and almost added to his list as we are into the second minute of the second period. Fedotenko corralled by Ovechkin, lightning back to even in full strength with 5-on-5 in D.C. Ryan Muir hooks it ahead. Ovechkin loves to blow out of that zone, too. He loves to go defense, offense in a heartbeat.
Well, Alexander Ovechkin could step on the gas from anywhere. We saw him take the puck from the neutral zone and all the way in deep into the offensive zone just by ramping it up offensively and stepping on the gas pedal. Well, we did it again from the blue line in. It only takes him a couple of steps, and he protects the puck so well.
Ruslan Fedotenko to the front. Spinning crossball around with that pass. Lecavalier fires just wide of Brent Johnson. Ranger from one-point position. Deals it back behind the cage. Ryan Sotheby looking after crossball. Ranger hoping for a shooting lane. Lecavalier getting fancy. Last one that's deflected over top. And the ricochet almost went in off of Johnson. Crossball in tight quarters. Fedotenko a good look for Ranger. And Clymer was waiting for him in the Caps, able to play it back to neutral.
Boy, that was a nice little spin-around move and puck control by Vinny Lecavalier. And then that shot that went over the glass, that was dangerous coming back over. Big rebounds off the glass in this building.
Crossball booms it right into the shin pads of Jamie Heward. A player who's really taken advantage of playing in Europe.
Jamie Heward has been outstanding for the Washington Capitals, playing a couple of years in Switzerland on that big ice surface without the red line. He's really stepped into the NHL this year and done a good job on the point there for the Capitals.
There's Pratt, rock solid as always for Tampa Bay. John Tortorella has put Pratt on ice against the top offensive threats as Ovechkin's quick relay went right on by. Washington in the black sweaters, 5-on-5. A deflection there, and Burke had to be ready. That almost went in off of Boyle. No score here. Back to Bill in the studio.
All right, Joe, thanks very much. Who's got the most points in the East? Montreal. Florida's in town. They've lost 8 straight. They're trying to stop the bleeding, and right now Florida is hemorrhaging. That was Steve Bégin with his 7th of the season. Thomas Plekanec scored earlier for Montreal. Still in the first period. Montreal 2, Florida 0. Back to Joe and Brian.
All righty, Bill, thanks. The Canadiens playing without Alexei Kovalev, who in some pain from the start of the season, needed a surgical procedure on his knee.
It'll be interesting to see how Montreal rebounds from that. They're a very interesting team, the Montreal Canadiens. They're very fast. They've spread the wealth around, but when you miss a guy like Alexei Kovalev, it's going to hurt them. Alexander Ovechkin, watch this move. Number 8 will get the puck right at the blue line. Watch him dip the shoulder. He had Nolan Pratt going inside, outside, and spinning around. And here at the other end, there's the little spinorama shot by Vinny Lecavalier. That actually hit something in front and dipped and bounced up over the net. So 2 talented players with some great moves.
2 of them, both number 1 overall draft selections. Vincent Lecavalier taken back in 1998. Part of an excellent draft class. Simon Gagne, who's been making a lot of headlines, was in that class of 98.
He's been not bad this year, has he?
We'll see.
Still in the net.
Richards, taps, Modine moves. Got Morrison hung up. Modine on a stuff attempt, and Johnson was ready. Still scoreless in D.C. Just about to 5 minutes into period 2. The NHL on OLN. Dmitry Afanasenko working that cycle game. Kubina keeps it alive. He scores! Off a shoulder in front, and the Lightning have the lead.
Well, I'm not sure who's going to get credit for this one, but it was a shot by Kubina from the wall. Some good sustained pressure by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the puck went around the wall to the right wing side, and Kubina just gets it and wrists it towards the net. Now, traffic in front is always the key. You can see Kubina's not even really looking at it. There was a stick that was flashed in front. I wouldn't be surprised that Freddie Modine, number 33, our Power 8 goal cam, shows you the look that a goaltender Brent Johnson saw. It went by his arm on the short side, and I think that Freddie Modine is going to end up getting credit for this goal, number 33.
Brent Johnson got a little piece of it off the shoulder cap, and then it went on through at 4:22. Castles on the drop. Fleischmann with a blast, and that was blocked. Corey Sarge out there working with Darryl Sador. Kingman, DeMaio, and Andrechuk on ice and white for the defending Stanley Cup champs, who are trying to get back to the 500 mark with a win tonight.
I think a little bit got taken off that shot and may even have changed the trajectory a little bit. So I'm convinced that Freddie Modine touched that shot in front.
Castle's on back. Ewert steps in, now pulls the trigger, and that caught a body in front. It was Dave Andrechuk on patrol. Castle's to the goal mouth, stabbed out of there. Fleischmann back from Muir, bombs away off the post. Fleischmann hustles down the rebound. Muir sets it again and fires, and that was steered away by Dingman. Washington with some sustained pressure here in the wake of the opening tally. Long blast. Burke has it as it bounced around pinball style in that crease for just a moment.
How you react after a goal is scored for you or against you is really important, and Glenn Hanlon has to be really happy the way his group has just reacted here on this last shift. Excellent sustained attack by the Washington Capitals. Some shots from the point, including that shot by Brian Muir that clanked clearly off the near side post. And Sean Burke and the Tampa Bay Lightning were in trouble in that shift.
We're enjoying watching Alexander Ovechkin in the Caps. He's out there now. A blast that was blocked. Tomorrow on OLN, you'll see Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins when they match up with the Philadelphia Flyers. A sharp angle drive from Seaback, squeezed by Johnson. Philadelphia has been just awesome at home.
You're talking about Crosby and Pittsburgh Penguins playing against Flyers tomorrow. Let's take a look at Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin, the 2 #1 picks in consecutive years. 2 years ago, Alexander Ovechkin was taken, and of course, this past summer, Sidney Crosby. Here are the point totals they've put up so far. Sidney Crosby looking like the playmaker more, and Ovechkin looking like the goal scorer more. But trust me, folks, both of these guys can do both of those tasks equally well.
We've been talking about terrific tandems in the NHL, specifically this one here for Tampa Bay, Prospal and LeCavalier, but how about Gagne and Forsberg in the orange and black?
Almost unstoppable some nights.
Prospal in, closing to the backhand. It was blocked. Follow-up chance, they score! Ruslan Fedotenko.
Well, turnabout is fair play, and Tampa comes out with a really good shift. And Fedotenko just followed the play up. Taking it to the net is Vinny Prospal. We've talked about his ability to hang on to the puck. You see what he was able to carry the puck all the way from the near side wall. He was looking into the middle of the ice, and on the goal cam you can see what happened for Brent Johnson. Just too much traffic, both body-wise and puck-wise. Ruslan Fedotenko was able to come in, scoop up that rebound, and get it over Brent Johnson for the second goal in this game for Tampa.
So Tampa, no pun intended, lightning in a bottle. 2 goals, 1 minute 46 seconds apart. Modin and Fedotenko.
Brendan Witt was the lone defenseman back, and by Prospal looking into the middle the whole time he was walking off the boards, Joe, it made Brendan Witt think he's going to pass. That froze Witt in the middle of the ice, and Prospal was able to walk all the way from the boards right to the front of the net to make that play.
Modin with a drive that was blunted by Heward. Washington on home ice. 5 of their 6 victories have come here at MCI Center. They have not performed well on the road at all. Bradley closing in with a wrister, and Burke boots it away. This is Bradley and Sotheby and Clymer, the former Lightning. Ben Clymer told us the Lightning were such a cohesive group during their Stanley Cup run.
You have to be to win the Stanley Cup. Every team that wins it is because they do have great chemistry and they come together. Whether it starts at the beginning of the year or at some point in the season, you have to have that incredible bond or you just don't win it.
And Clymer told me Dave Andrechuk is the closest thing to a player coach in the NHL that the league has.
Lots of experience and a great guy in Dave Andrechuk.
Break time for us. The Lightning have the advantage by 2. They want goals from Ruslan Fedotenko. And the talented winger is all smiles in our nation's capital. Vinny Prospal just picked up an assist on the Ruslan Fedotenko goal, his 4th. Modin's 8th from Kubina and Afanasenkov. 2 goals less than 2 minutes apart. And this is a holding call against Tampa. Arn Seaback.
Well, Tampa puts themselves in a hole a little bit. Yeah, just a little grab of the stick, or maybe not so little grab. Seaback will sit it out for the next couple of minutes, gives the Capitals a chance to get themselves back in this hockey game.
Played his 100th NHL game last night, Seaback did, against the Philadelphia Flyers. He made his debut in the NHL against the Capitals. Sador will swivel it on down.
And Daryl Sador took a little look back in the paint. He had to turn around with the puck in the blue paint, in the goal crease, right in front of Sean Burke. Sean Burke must have said something to him because he turned around after he cleared it down the ice. That was kind of close.
Tampa Bay is the 3rd least penalized team in the NHL. They gave up a couple of power play goals last night to Peter Forsberg, but they prevailed over the visiting Flyers, snapping a 6-game losing skid. Here into the offensive zone.
Sorry, Joe. Brad Richards just grabbed the puck again and skated it most of the way down the ice. This power play for Washington has to be so aware of number 19 in white because Richards is dangerous one-on-one by himself, shorthanded.
Winding and firing. That was kicked out of there. Burke dealing with the blast from Heward. Castles back behind, little chip pass looking for Halpern. Halpern and Wilsey and Castles. Heward and Muir out there, 5 in the black. Caps trailing by 2 on home ice. The NHL on OLN. Joe Beninati, Brian Engblom. Upstairs, Chris Simpson working rinkside. Heward. Pump fake for Muir. Both of those guys have hard slappers from the point. Castles will take it. And Burke has it secured. 2-0 Tampa here. Let's check in with Bill Clement in the studio.
Okay, Joe, thanks very much. The New York Rangers are in Toronto tonight. Who leads the NHL in defenseman scoring? The man that's blasting BBs from the blue line, and he is Brian McCabe. It is 1-0 Toronto over the Rangers. First intermission. Back to Joe and Brian.
Bill, thanks. Brian McCabe, the former Islander captain, has really made himself welcome in TO.
And he's obviously feeling the flow offensively. He's been consistently in that #1 spot in scoring among defensemen.
Lots of assists, especially on the power play for the Leafs, who are thrilled to have Mats Sundin back.
And how about on the other side there, the New York Rangers, one of the biggest surprises of this young season so far in my mind, Joe.
For sure. Alexander Ovechkin hurls one to the front. Follow-up chance by Bradley. Ripped it wide. Tail end of a Washington power play. Seaback sits in the box another 10 seconds. Kubina measuring Bradley. Looks like finding Ovechkin. Muir opens up for the one-timer, and Burke handles that deflection. Stop number 10 for the veteran Burke. Like looking to the back door. That was blocked away as the Lightning are back to full strength.
And that was Kubina blocking that pass. If that gets through, it's a slam dunk for Ovechkin.
Frederick Modine on the hop for the Lightning Bolts. Working with Seaback wide. Witt cancels him out. Ovechkin was pickpocketed by Modine. To the front, one-timer, and Johnson makes the save there. LeCavalier let it go quickly. Vincent LeCavalier, who had 3 helpers last night, was looking for a goal for himself right there.
The Tampa Bay Lightning haven't been happy with their goaltending. Sean Burke has been perfect so far in this game. When Washington's come with a big push at certain times, he hasn't given them anything. John Tortorella has said, well, our goaltending has been mediocre a lot of the times, and it hasn't bailed us out. People have talked a lot about it, that they play a style of game that's brash and energetic, and it's risky. And Nikolai Khabibulin did a lot of stuff for them 2 years ago when they won the Cup, because he would just make great saves when they were caught off ice. They have not gotten the same kind of consistent, high-level goaltending this year, and that's part of the reason that they are down in the standings a little bit from where they were 2 seasons ago.
He made the routine stops, he made the brilliant stops, and he also made the stops at the right critical moments for Tampa. Tampa has a 2-0 lead against the Washington Capitals. GM George McPhee of the Caps will join us in just a few moments here on OLN.
Welcome back to the MCI Center in Washington, where the score is 2-0 for Tampa Bay. I'm joined by Capitals GM George McPhee. George, I know you had a lot of expectations for Alex Ovechkin this year. Wildest dreams, do you ever expect to see this much this soon from him?
No, he's really exceeded our expectations, and I think everyone's expectations. We knew he was a good player, but coming into this league, we were hoping that he could hold down a regular shift and bring some good pace and score some goals, but he's essentially carried our team on offense all year.
Well, there's no secret that you're in rebuilding mode. Did this accelerate that plan for you?
I don't know if it accelerates it. It just gives our fans a lot of hope, I think, when they can come to the rink and watch what he can do out here. He's an exceptional talent. We're going to take our time and do this right, but we sure like what we've seen so far.
Well, we'll let you get back to watching the game, George. Thanks for this. Guys?
Much appreciated. It was a Flyer head coach, Ken Hitchcock, who said Ovechkin's worth the price of admission all by himself.
Yes, he absolutely is. There's no doubt. And for Ovechkin, it's his multi-talents. And the guys in the studio we're talking about are Keith Jones, Neil Smith, and Bill Clement. We've outlined them as well, too. He has a really incredible personality. As soon as you get in the same room as Alexander Ovechkin, you see the light in his eyes, his passion for the game, his passion for life. And that really is what I like seeing about him, even before I saw him step on the ice for the first time.
Brad Richards and the Tampa Bay Lightning facing off against Alexander Ovechkin and the Caps. 2-0 for Tampa. All the scoring coming in this frame. If you missed it, Modine and Fedotenko, 1 minute 46 seconds apart. Afanasenkov out there now with LeCavalier and Modine. Boyle holds the line well. The defending Stanley Cup champs at 8-9-2. Working out of the Southeast Division. The story of the Southeast Division has been the Carolina Hurricanes as Brent Johnson makes the stop.
Yeah, Carolina has been outstanding this year. Getting back to Alexander Ovechkin, when he turns around, you take a look at the visor that he wears. He's kind of cut that smoky visor. You can barely see his eyes there. When he was playing the World Junior team for the Russians, he had one that had that mirrored look on it. You couldn't see his face at all. I don't think he's actually allowed to wear one exactly like that in the National Hockey League, but he likes people not being able to see his eyes. And I think that gives him an advantage offensively. Players read everything, including an opposition player's eyes. They can't see Ovechkin's eyes very well.
So, Alex, is it your style? He goes, no. Does it have to do with your vision? No, it's just my style.
Yeah.
It's my kind of style.
He does have style. It's great. And he's got that little sort of impish grin when he talks about it.
Dipping below 8 minutes to go in the second period. Clark on the dump in. Clark and Pettinger out there with Halpern. Even in full strength, Tampa Bay allows the fewest shots per game of any team in the NHL, and right now they're holding Washington to just 13. The hard hitting continues. Artukin in there, 4-5 players in the quarrel. And you get a good handheld look at it for the NHL on OLN. Sador cheating down from a point spot. Thrust on out of there by Heward. Will send Tampa packing. Sador keeps it going right on through Taylor. Brent Johnson with the traffic instructions as Witt cleaned up things in the corner. Clark makes a dash, 3-on-3. The late guy, a rocket from Ewert that buzzed wide. Darryl Sador, now the 33-year-old Edmonton native. And his career in LA, long time in Dallas. A long lead right on the blade, tape to tape. Ovechkin again, that little curl and drag move. And the shot was weakened on its way. Folks, all rights to this telecast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, or other use of the broadcast without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is expressly prohibited.
Another little bit of skill there from Alexander Ovechkin on that last rush. It was a little curl and toe drag. In tight to his body, he got the shot, and then he stopped in front of the net. Good habits from Ovechkin, too. Follow up your shot. Don't do a flyby after the shot goes. Stop in front of the net, look for a rebound. Here, watch the toe drag, the toe of his stick. Whoops! Corey Sarich probably knew he was going to pull that move off, but you're real good when a guy knows you're going to do it, and you still do it anyway.
Ben Clymer out there now for Washington, taken back and played away by Nolan Pratt. Afanasenkov with Modine and Richards across the top for head coach John Tortorella. John Tortorella said about his team this year, we're the hunted. It's something new for us.
It's a whole different mentality. Once you've won a championship, it's really, really difficult to stay on top, and Tampa's experiencing that this year.
Richards, the all-time assist leader for the Bolts, hanging around in the corner. Ranger fires, and this one's chested down by Johnson. Long booming drive from Paul Ranger.
Just to follow up on the Tampa Bay Lightning being hunted, there's John Tortorella. He called John Gruden, Scotty Bowman, Al Arbor, some great coaches, and said, what do you do when you're trying to follow up after you've won a championship? How do you handle your guys? What changes? He had a lot of questions for them. Basically, they all said, you got to be tough. You got to be mean that next year, too, because teams that win championships, they get a certain attitude about them, and that's good. But coaches, I think, often have to sort of step on them, and that has happened already. John Tortorella has had his days and evenings with his team where he's had to step on them a bit. When they went 0-6, you're going to get stepped on at the National Hockey League level.
And Brian, in this new world, in new NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning find themselves right up against the Caps as DeMaio is squeezing in there. Johnson makes the stop, and then DeMaio was always hungry for the rebound, getting into a little pushing and shoving match. Dingman there too, running shotgun. Break time for us. Tampa Bay's got 2 behind Brent Johnson here in the second period. We'll continue with more with the NHL on OLN.
Welcome back to the MCI Center in Washington, where the score is 2-0 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And while the Lightning were going through their slump, head coach John Tortorella was willing to try just about anything. Well, on Saturday, when the team arrived at the arena for a video session, instead of showing them a tape of what they were doing wrong, he decided to show them a tape of what they did right in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, the big win over the Calgary Flames. He felt he needed to remind them who they are. Looks like tonight they've remembered they're the defending Stanley Cup champs, guys.
Chris, you're right. They talk a lot about identity, and it was Captain Dave Andreychuk who said watching that tape, regaining the confidence was required. Pettinger's pass was blocked there by a sprawling defensive play by Paul Ranger.
Confidence, team-wise and individually, is the most important part at the pro level, and these guys just need to be reminded. It's a good idea. You don't just step on people all the time. You got to give them and fill that tank up again emotionally.
Offside here against the Lightning. Brendan Witt and the Caps entertaining the Lightning. Part of our Dodge storyline. Sean Burke has been solid first game back after missing 7 with a groin injury.
And our Dodge storyline replay is the Fedotenko goal. He just went to the net and got a rebound. Prospel right here, walking off the wall, looking in the middle, trying to make a pass now. I'll take it to the paint. Number 17 followed up closely and shoveled it over the goaltender, Johnson.
And right away, the Lightning will threaten once more. Fedotenko's got 4 goals this year, all 4 of them on the road. Ovechkin's pass was heaved by Sador, loose in front, like digging for it. And Burke was deep in the crease to make the save there. Ivan Majewski shuffles it back behind the cage, even in full strength 5-on-5. 2-0 for Tampa Bay. Modin and Fedotenko here in the middle period.
That was a good sequence by Daryl Sador just a moment ago. It was an outnumbered attack. The game in front of the nets is really literally played on the ice now. There's not that cross-checking and jockeying for position that used to happen a lot more over the last 5 or 8 or 10 years in the NHL. You really have to be strong on your stick and strong on the puck, and Daryl Sador did that in that last sequence and cleared pucks away.
This is an icing call, and we visit back with Bill Clement in the studio.
All right, guys, in Buffalo, the Devils are in town. The Buffalo Sabres, nothing going right, but their power play is ranked 5th coming into tonight's game. They put it to their advantage. Brian Campbell on a nice feed from Chris Drury. And Campbell has given the Buffalo Sabres a 2-1 lead. That is in the second period. We'll keep you updated on all of the NHL scores. Right now, back to Joe and Brian.
All right, Bill, thanks very much. Brian Campbell, they've always hoped in Buffalo that he would turn his offensive game loose. A deflection try here that bounced wide of Burke. Washington needs to get on the board for Caps fans inside of MCI Center, trailing the visiting Stanley Cup champs by 2, just over 4 minutes to go in the middle period.
They've had some flurries of action in this game. You have to give Tampa certainly credit for controlling their end zone for the most part. But when Washington's been effective, they've stepped on the gas as a group, as 5 men, and taken flurries to the net. That's how games are won and lost. It's not always about gradual momentum that's created. It's about quick flurries that can turn the game on a dime.
Only Columbus and Florida have scored less than the Caps. That may be changing, though, for Columbus. Stay with us between periods. Bill Clement, Neil Smith, Keith Jones will update you on a major trade in the NHL involving the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim and the Blue Jackets of Columbus.
That'll get the attention of everybody around the National Hockey League. A big trade.
Witt snaps one wide, and Hanlon in the middle of a line change. 3:20 to go in period 2. Abel Kubino, who often logs an awful lot of ice time for this team, floats it on back. Witt glanced it ahead. Ryan Sotheby maneuvering along. Sotheby loves the forechecking part of the game. Boyle able to relieve that pressure, and that's something that Matt Bradley, who works out with Dan Boyle in the offseason, both of them are Ottawa natives. Bradley was saying you can't forecheck the Lightning because they've got a lot of defenders who can get up and go.
That's what made them so successful in their run to the Stanley Cup and eventually winning it. They were the first ones, among the first teams, to realize you have to be mobile on the back end, you have to get the pucks quickly, and you can't just dump it anywhere. You have to be able to make good passes to your forwards and turn defense into offense quickly.
Sotheby smartly to the front right there, and that was jammed away as Eminger activated in from a point position. 2:25 to go in period 2. Washington putting on a threat here. Clymer cut off at the pass by Ranger, and now the Lightning move back. Delio was crunched there at center.
That was a good play by Paul Ranger, cutting off that short side there. Rangers really got the attention of the Tampa Bay coaching staff. They called him up from the minors. They needed a left-hand defenseman. They tried Boyle on the left side. It wasn't working. They brought Ranger up from the American Hockey League, and he's played great.
Paul Ranger, eh? You realize there was a Joe Ranger drafted by the New York Rangers in '86? I'm serious.
Easy.
Backhand score! Follow-up chance. Ben Clymer.
A good push, good momentum by Washington. They keep the puck in the zone. Tampa tried to go for a quick play up the ice. That was Fedotenko, 17 White, who wanted to poke it by and maybe go on a 2-man break. That really cost them because Ben Clymer went to the net off that initial shot. The backhand shot, sneaking it just inside the far goal post. Ben Clymer getting back against his old team. He played for Tampa 2 years ago.
During that Stanley Cup run, when the Caps went down to Tampa late in October, Ben had been back in the building, the St. Pete Times Forum, for a couple of different events, but it was the first time he had been there with the Stanley Cup banner up. He forgot to even look up to the rafters, and then he looked and said, whoa.
That's focus.
Yeah. Artukin.
He remembers, though, trust me, Joe.
Oh, he does. He does. And Glenn Hanlon will say the Lightning's loss is Washington's gain. He has been a very good grinder, whether it be at forward or defense for the Caps.
And that's a great thing for the Capitals, that Ben Clymer can play defense or can play forward, and the Capitals have plugged him in, as you say. He's spent some time on the blue line when they've been short-staffed back there, and Ben Clymer back up forward now and scoring a big goal here to get Washington back in this game, only down by 1 now.
Tampa had all the momentum at the outset of the period before we were 7 minutes old in the second frame. Modine and Fedotenko, numbers 8 and 4 for them. But a Clymer marker just moments ago, carving into the Tampa Bay lead. Modine lets it fly. Off a defender there was Mueller making the play. Wilsey thrusts it on ahead, trying to spring Ovechkin at every turn. Wilsey and Ovechkin are road roommates.
And Ovechkin wanted it that way. Alexander Ovechkin did not want anybody speaking Russian to him. He wants to learn English. They put Brian Wilsey with him, and he speaks English all the time, and Ovechkin is better off because of it. He knows it.
It is 2-1 Tampa, 42 seconds separating us from our intermission report on OLN. We'll be talking about the guys in back, the blue liners who can create offense. More with Alexander Ovechkin, scores and highlights, a whole bunch more coming up with Bill Clement, Neil Smith, and Keith Jones on our second intermission report on OLN.
Well, the young man Alexander Ovechkin just moved into a new house. He and his brother, Mikhail. His brother's 23 years old. The first piece of furniture he bought? Yes, folks, give you one guess. Yeah, a plasma big screen TV. Hey, he's a guy.
Alexander, can you cook any meals? Oh, no.
Not even thought. He probably doesn't even know if he has a stove. Big screen TV? Yes.
I'm not sure if he's done takeout yet either. 28 seconds. His English is getting better, but I'm not sure if it's that good.
You know what? He's fine, though. I was impressed. He speaks English just fine. He certainly knows what's going on. Like anybody learning a new language, you have to think about the words that you want to use to express what you want to say. But I know, I got a distinct feeling he knew exactly what you and I were talking about all the time.
8 seconds left to go in the second period. 2-1 for Tampa Bay. They got things straightened out last night, looked very effective against the Philadelphia Flyers, and now they'll have to brace themselves for the third period, leading by 1 after 2. Sean Burke getting back into active duty. They're protecting a lead, and at the end of the period, there's some tough stuff.
Well, a little bit of emotion creeping in there. Always love to see that stuff. It bodes well for the third period.
We duck away from MCI Center, turn it over to the boys in the studios. Our intermission report on OLN. Here now, Bill Clement. Come on back inside MCI Center, the NHL on OLN. Tampa Bay has won 4 of its last 5 against Washington. Their coach, John Tortorella, is downstairs with Chris Simpson.
John, you're without the reigning NHL MVP with Martin St. Louis' absence from the lineup. How do you make adjustments without him?
Well, we're not a big team as far as adjustments. We know it hurts us losing Marty, but it gives another guy an opportunity in Afanasenkov. So we're not going to change our style. We just have to play better without one of our better players.
One thing we know about the new NHL, taking a lead into the third isn't a sure thing. What were your thoughts heading into period number 3?
Well, I think the most important thing, and I think we struggled with in the second period, is we got to play more straight ahead. Just get the puck up the ice, chip it behind their D, and start forechecking again. That's where we lost some of our momentum.
Well, John, thanks for this, and good luck in the third period. Guys?
Thanks. Vinny Prospal wearing the microphone tonight. Let's listen. Mic'd Up, presented by Bud Light.
Stand-up goalie, the rebound on the stand-up goalie, there's so much room. Yeah, nice. Good play, Ape. And the butterfly just takes everything away around the poke. Hold on to it, Momo. That's a pass. Hey!
Everybody wants to be a ref.
You got to love that energy. That's what I was trying to talk about early on, is the instant energy that Vinny Prospal can provide, whether it's on the bench or whether it's in the offensive zone quickly on a turnover. He can ramp it up and really make something happen. But he's a comical guy and he's fun to be around.
A bit of a chatterbox. He was bending the captain's ear.
He looked like 2 guys sitting at the juice bar watching stuff go by, didn't they?
Vinny Prospal, yeah. If Prospal keeps putting up points like that, Andrechuk will let him talk all he wants.
Yeah, exactly right.
Modine and Richards on ice. Dmitry Afanasenkov out there, and this is the spot where Martin St. Louis would normally be. We just heard the thoughts of John Tortorella With his team missing the reigning MVP and leading scorer, Richards sets it up, a backhand chance for Modine off the outside of the goal.
That's just some good, hard bull work there. Look at Brad Richards' work. He's not that big a guy, but puck control outstanding. Now, Modine is a big guy. He's bowled his way to the net twice now.
Afanasenkov's blast was redirected. Even strength here, Richards. Lightning tilting the ice to start the third period. Good dish. Modine and a backhander that was blocked away. Brent Johnson spelling the injured Oulu Kolzig. Kolzig missing his third game with a hamstring injury.
But you know what? Amongst all that action there for Tampa Bay, good work by the Washington Capitals defenders. I mean, they kept everything to the outside for the most part, and they were patient.
That was a nice play by LeCavalier. He used his skate to deflect that to Fedotenko, who just missed. What a brilliant little move by number 4 in the white. So subtle. LeCavalier chasing after Jeff Halford. Sador pinching in. Fedotenko for LeCavalier once again, grappling with Brian Mueller. Crossball has time. A sharp angle pass. Oh, the Lightning have come out of the dressing room and dominated the first minute and 45 seconds. Leading by 1, the NHL on OLN tonight. The Caps and the Lightning, a Southeast Division duel.
That's an excellent shift, boy, to start any period to have sustained action like that deep in the Washington zone. Good start for Tampa.
We mentioned how remarkably healthy Tampa Bay was during its Stanley Cup run. They'll be missing this guy big time.
Martin St. Louis is the reigning MVP of the National Hockey League from the 03-04 season. Kind of a freak accident. They're practicing the power play. He was in front of the net. A slap shot from his teammate Daryl Sador hit him in the ring finger of the left hand, split the finger, and see he's going to be out for a couple of weeks.
And for now, 29 in the white, Dmitry Afanasenkov will handle that role. Pointless at 7. Afanasenkov, the 25-year-old Russian. Watching from the bench now, another Russian, Artukin, out there for the Lightning. In the white sweaters, leading by a 2-1 margin on OLN. If you're just tuning in with us, all the scoring in the second period. Modine and Fedotenko for Tampa Bay. Ben Clymer, the former Lightning product for Washington.
Talking about shots on goal, 14 shots the Caps took so far in the first 2 periods, missed the net. So they missed 14. And Tampa blocked 17, so that's 31 shots on attempts that the Washington Capitals tried to score goals with that never made it for one reason or another.
Ryan Wilsey scooting down the flank, a centering pass for Like, and Burke made the stop there with a paddle down, taking away the lower third of the cage. Steve Eminger up from the point spot. Eminger, bear hugged by Kubina. Andrechuk boxed in by Ovechkin. Like funnels one to the front. Wilsey golfed it wide. Ovechkin, a turnaround blast that missed by a foot. And the rebound will chase Washington into its own end.
Boy, the slot area on both ends of the ice is so congested. It's so crowded. That rectangular area that's immediately in front of the net at both ends. So many bodies there. Tough to get scoring chances in there.
It's difficult now, isn't it, Ryan, for defenders to keep the piece in front? They can't level those cross-checks anymore.
Exactly. That's why there's so many bodies. So it's a game of who can block the most shots. It's also a reason why the scoring zone is actually starting to expand. And players are scoring more goals from out by the face-off dot areas because there's more room out there.
Both of these teams are going to get used to the road. The Caps' next 3 are away from home as Richards scurries in. Fires one off the crossbar. Beautiful release by Richards, just missed by a whisker.
He has got one of the best releases of anybody in the league. He reminds me a lot of Joe Sakic, the way he shoots the puck, especially on the fly. This time he held up for a little bit, looked into the middle, tried to sell Brent Johnson, the goaltender, that, hey, I might pass this one. And Brent Johnson literally had to fight that one off. Our Powerade goal cam shows Brent Johnson doing a real nice job. He didn't go down too soon, but he had that glove up and ready for the top shelf on the short side.
Brad Richards, a native of Prince Edward Island, Maritime, Canada.
And that little feint move or that hesitation move by Brad Richards, taking the pass in the middle and then looking, waiting for the goaltender to go down. He's hoping Brent Johnson goes down too soon, which enlarges that area on the short side top corner that he was trying to hit.
LeCavalier trying to finagle his way around Brendan Witt, nothing doing. Johnson told us he wanted to be more patient today. And a tangle in the deep slot. Johnson was a little scrambly against the Devils. Crossball to the front. It has been a third period, at least 4 minutes and change of it, dominated territorially by the Lightning.
And
Boyle with a blast that's blocked.
And when goaltenders say they want to be more patient, 9 times out of 10, that's really what they're talking about, is staying on their feet till the right time.
A scramble in tight, and Burke gets a little help right there in the crease as the Caps are close to deadlocking this game.
Jeff Halpern got a piece in that original one, then he skated all the way around the back of the net and looked for the loose change coming out again. The whistle had not blown. Sean Burke made the save, laid down on the puck, wasn't quite sure where it was underneath that big 6'4" frame. The shot comes from well outside Halpern, and then it just kind of gets messed up. And there's Sean Burke laying down, doing the snow angel for a moment. I got it. Pretty sure I got it. I think I got it. There it is between the legs. Halpern came around from the backside, poked one more time, but no dice.
Sean Burke, 3-time All-Star. Tampa Bay, the 7th different franchise he's worked with, makes the pad save there. Burke said at age 38, this late in his career, he wanted to go to a place where he knew he could win right away, and the Lightning, the defending Stanley Cup champs, provided that opportunity.
And you know, it still is an excellent team in Tampa, and they are the defending champs. They still have a lot of firepower, and Sean Burke is a really good goaltender to be working with John Graham, who's expected to be the #1 goaltender. John Graham has never been in the #1 seat yet for any team. And Sean Burke's been around the block a long time. He works well with people. He wants to compete. Sean Burke would like to be the #1 guy himself, but he is willing to work with the goaltender too, and that's valuable for the organization.
Told me earlier in the year, Brian, he said he wasn't going to play any head games with Graham. Didn't need to do that at all. Wanted to be more of a mentor.
It's not his personality to do it, but if he gets hot and he runs and, you know, they get into a playoff situation and he's the hottest guy, who knows? Sean Burke knows that he could be that guy leading them into the playoffs too. Most teams are in that situation, Joe. The goaltenders are designated 1 and 2 or 1 and 1A, and whoever's playing the best when you go into the playoffs, that's who gets to be in the net when it all starts.
Boyle for the Lightning, dressed in white, a 2-1 lead on the road, including tonight, 4 of the next 5 away from the St. Pete Times Forum. Ovechkin, dazzling moves again. That wrister didn't get through. Sador blocked it.
He's made some great moves, but a couple of times now when the payoff has come, he shot one over the net and there, and the other one was blocked.
Richards in tight. Rebound, they score! Follow-up chance from point-blank range.
Freddie Modine, I think, is going to get credit for this one too, but the play was made by number 19. These two guys have been dynamic in this third period. It was they that started this third period shift with the extended action inside the zone. Freddie Modine takes it to the paint, then Brad Richards with the first follow-up chance, and Brent Johnson was able to make that save. Brent Johnson deserved a little help by that third rebound. There's Brad Richards with that one. Couple of players back for the Washington Capitals were in the vicinity. Steve Eminger was there, but he was trying to play the loose puck and didn't play the stick of Freddie Modine. Modine found it, and he's got another goal in his hockey game.
A double dip for Modine, the 31-year-old Swede. Career best 32 goals a few seasons back, giving the Lightning now a little bit of a cushion on enemy ice.
Sustained action always seems to pay off, and John Tortorella, I think, whipped his troops up a little bit in that second intermission. He looked a little fired up when he talked to our Christine Simpson, and his team has come out fired up in this third.
He sure did.
He's intense, isn't he?
Extremely intense. Extremely intense.
I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end if you're not playing well and John Tortorella's not happy with you. Those eyes would stare holes right through you before he even opens his mouth.
Tampa Bay 8-9-2, Washington 6-11. Tortorella said it may be the grind, the biggest hurdle for his team to overcome this year, the grind of a long regular season after all that playoff success.
The last hockey they experienced was the hockey at the ultimate level. Everything means the ultimate situation. You live from one period to the next, one goal to the next, and one game to the next, and they go to Game 7 and win the Stanley Cup. Is it a come down after that to play regular season games? Yes, and that's what he's talking about, the grind. But if you don't play well in the grind, you don't get back to that situation again.
As this one is skipped in there on Sean Burke. Shots on goal for the moment. 23-22 favor Tampa Bay. Muir's wrister was spoiled. Joe Beninati, Brian Engblom with you. The NHL on OLN. Chris Simpson reporting from ice level. These two teams won't wait long to see each other again. Tampa gets right back into our nation's capital in 8 days. Ovechkin winding it up. With good balance, he finds light. Light from the sharp angle, rips it over top. This one leaves the rink. It's 3-1 Tampa. Vinny Prospal wearing the mic, and we'll hear more from him in just a few moments. 3-1 Bolts in the third. You can learn a lot about a player when he's wearing a microphone in the heat of battle. We're going to learn that Vinny Prospal is a very honest man. He's wearing the microphone, mic'd up, presented by Bud Light.
Hey! What is that? Puck didn't want to settle down. I should have shot it, though.
I think he's talking to himself. Was anybody really listening there? I don't know. I think Vinny was just talking to himself.
He's taking the blame, though, for a failed scoring attempt as the Caps put some pressure on right off the draw. 11:40 to go in regulation. 3-1 Tampa.
Washington trying to come up with another sequence that would match the one that gave them the goal when Ben Clymer went to the net. It was a shot from a bad angle and rebounds just coming out, and Clymer was able to whack one by Sean Burke.
20-year-old Alexander Ovechkin, and off in the distance, 42-year-old Dave Andreychuk. The Capitals, the fourth youngest team in the NHL. Here's bad news for the rest of the league. Ottawa is the second youngest with the way they have started and with all that firepower.
Ottawa Senators have put on clinics night after night on how to move the puck and score goals in the National Hockey League.
Right off the draw, a penalty call. Brian Wilsey was dumped. This is tripping.
Kubina, Pavel Kubina, moving off the faceoff dot. He's pleading his case. It's not going to do any good. He's just being motioned to the penalty box by the referee. You can plead insanity. You can say anything you want, but Pavel Kubina can be upset as he wants. This is about tripping. It's about positioning coming off the wall. Pavel Kubina gets a stick tied up with Wilsey, and Kubina's trying to play the puck, and that's what he's trying to tell the referee. His stick is in front of the path of Wilsey. Wilsey goes over it, and power play situation for the Washington Capitals.
Very easy call, Brian, for referee Greg Kimmerly. He's working with Dan Maruelli tonight here at MCI Center in Washington, D.C. Castles and Halpern and Wilsey across the top. Ovechkin and Muir working in back. Richards, another beautiful move. Walking in, he didn't get the shot away. As the back checking came after him, it was Ovechkin, as well as Muir to chase him down. Wilsey slides it into a corner. Sador there to greet him. Castles feed to the front, ricocheted off the skirt of the goal, and Sador will play it from home.
Another outstanding set of moves from Brad Richards, and when we get a chance, we'll go back to that and show just how good and patient he is with the puck. And the faceoff was won by Dave Andreychuk. You know, it started in the zone, just scrumming the draw. Richards came in and helped him win it.
Castles to the deep slot, bullseye! Brian Muir!
So many power play goals are scored like this in the National Hockey League now. Take the puck inside the zone, and the man coming late gets lots of time and room. A perfect setup there. I believe that was Castles who fished the puck out into the open. Brian Muir comes in late, and he one-times the puck. Washington Capitals are back in it. Brendan Witt knows it. Muir just walked in there and smoked that one. It wasn't a full slap shot. It was just kind of that half snapshot that gets off the stick quickly. And Sean Burke wasn't able to make the save.
Brian Muir went more than 3 years without a goal in the NHL, Brian, and he's got 3 now in the last 6 games. Petatenko right back at you. Brent Johnson makes the save.
That's an important save right there, Joe, because that was a heck of a shot from Petatenko. That just jumped off his stick. A goal against the Washington Capitals right there, right after they scored, would have been devastating.
Lightning centering pass for LeCavalier off of his boot. And it's melted down by Johnson as we send you back to Bill in the OLN studios.
And in Nashville, the LA Kings are in town. Paul Kariya already scored one in this game. The puck came back to him again. He didn't score on this one, but he assisted. He dished up a deflectable shot that Kimmo Timonen was able to put in. The Nashville Predators up against the #1 team in the Pacific Division, and they lead the Kings 2-1. Second period. Back to Joe and Brian.
All righty, Bill, thanks. Craig Conroy and Alexander Frolov, Pavel Dimitrov have all been real good for LA.
They got a very dynamic team. They scored some incredible goals the other night in Columbus.
As far as Nashville is concerned, you're seeing guys like Correa and Steve Sullivan, those smaller, quicker guys. Tampa Bay fans know all about a player like that named Martin St. Louis. Those players are flourishing nowadays in the NHL, and specifically with the Predators. Saric with a blast to change direction rather rudely. Afanasenkov hunting for the rebound. Modine shoulder to shoulder with Light. More than halfway home now in the third period. Tampa Bay's lead is 3-2. Saric pulls one to the front. Answered by the Capital defense. And they'll play it ahead for the hard-charging Ovechkin. Waits and makes a bad pass. And back-checking Richards was right in the lane.
We can't hear what happened down there, but I wouldn't be surprised that Brad Richards was calling for that puck and Alexander Ovechkin answered him with a pass. The problem is Brad Richards plays for Tampa and Ovechkin wanted to pass it to a Washington guy.
May have invaded a little bit.
Yeah, it happens.
Saric rolling back. DeMaio with a booming drive and a kneeling Johnson got that. Brent Johnson in the cage for Washington. Sean Burke for the Lightning. Jakob Klepish has some room, and then Pratt takes it away with good closing speed. Nolan Pratt won't win any fastest skating contest, but he took away an angle quickly there.
He may be their steadiest defenseman of late, though. Nolan Pratt's really come a long way this year. Has played extremely well for them. The new NHL seems to have helped him, and the Light, by his own admission, just the light kind of went on, and he gets it now. Less is more.
Mueller with a slapper. It's padded away. Even strength, 5-on-5. Muir just tallied for Washington a few moments ago. Another wicked drive, this time from Klepish. Boxed out of there by Burke. Shots on goal, dead even at 28. The Lightning looking to relieve some of the pressure. No icing here. Fans at MCI Center getting a little bit loud as Boyle is squeezed along the woodwork. This is an offside against Tampa. The Lightning had a 3-1 advantage, only to see Muir tally and lift the spirits of the locals.
And coming up in our post-game coverage, lots, including a discussion on diving. Would you believe a player fined yesterday for diving, his second offense? We'll have that for you in our post-game coverage. Now back to Joe and Brian in Washington. Gents.
Things are changing here in Washington. There's George McPhee, the GM of the Washington Capitals. His team is getting younger, and a lot of his younger guys are starting to live downtown or close to downtown here. The team actually had their morning skate here in Washington at the big building.
Cross ball for Fedotenko, and Brent Johnson makes the stop. As the team gets younger, it creates a little bit more of a Washington, D.C. image for the D.C. Capitals.
And I think that's good for the team. Just the fact that they practiced here this morning is really different, because usually the Washington Capitals are out at Piney Orchard, which is a long ways from here, isn't it, Joe? And the Piney Orchard facility will be done at the end of this season. Ted Leonsis, the owner, is having a new one built in Arlington, which is much closer to downtown. And all that spells a young, new, hip group that's going to be based out of downtown D.C. sort of.
There's the majority owner of the Caps looking on from the executive suites here at MCI Center. Tampa Bay visiting and leading by one with a shade less than 8 minutes to go. The NHL on OLN tonight. It's Caps and Lightning. Tomorrow it's Pittsburgh at Philly. That Keystone State battle on OLN.
And there is no more exciting downtown city than Washington, D.C. I mean, this is where it happens. Ted Leonsis knows that. It is just outstanding. I love coming to this place because the energy that's here, for obvious reasons, it's generated politically, but you know, it adds to the atmosphere, and I think people, when it comes to sports and the Capitals, play off that energy as well too. And being right downtown D.C. is outstanding.
This building, the MCI Center, a real catalyst for urban renewal in the D.C. area. Promotionally speaking, tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, a special edition of the NHL on OLN. Rookie sensation Sidney Crosby marching the Penguins into Philadelphia, where Peter Forsberg and the Flyers await. Tomorrow at 7, available in high definition. We believe in hockey, the NHL on OLN.
A pretty good collection of talent will be on that ice tomorrow night. The Penguins against the Philadelphia Flyers. And we look at the two big rookie stars in this year's National Hockey League. Sidney Crosby was drafted #1 this past summer. Ovechkin 2 summers ago. and the goal totals and point totals in general for both these guys. A little bit different styles, but the work ethic they have, that's what they share. They both work extremely hard. Brent Johnson is really upset. He just got banged in the crease area there by Artukin, and he wanted a penalty, but the referee just waved it off.
They say play on as Seaback challenges in the corner. Muir swallows him up. Crosby, Ovechkin for sure the two best rookie forwards in the NHL. The best rookie defender, maybe out in Calgary, you say.
Yeah, I think Dion Phaneuf looks like he is the best young, talented player out there. He has had an outstanding start to the season for the Calgary Flames.
Calgary is rolling right now on a bit of a win streak, to say the least. Come from behind effort last night. Rob DeMaio on it for Tampa Bay. Plays the point to Kubina. 6:50 to go in regulation. A one-goal advantage for Tampa Bay. Andrechuk stuff attempt, and Johnson boarded him. Ovechkin off the wall. Had to peel himself there as DeMaio put him into the glass. Alexander Ovechkin streaking on through. Ovechkin fires. Stick save for Burke.
What a play again by Ovechkin. This time Nolan Pratt learned, and he just gave him the outside. He didn't get beaten. Ovechkin had to shoot from outside farther than he wanted to.
Fans all across the United States tonight learning that Alexander Ovechkin is one to love.
He turned Nolan Pratt inside out in the second period. Well, Nolan Pratt did learn a lesson on him, and he didn't let him back inside. Watch right here. Ovechkin wanted to go back inside. See that little feint inside right before he shot? Well, he wanted to get Nolan Pratt to reach outside and then bring it back in and take it right to the paint. Nolan Pratt said, you did that to me one time already. It ain't happening this time. Ovechkin did the right thing and took the shot.
He's not bashful. We saw there 3 shots on goal. That's usually below his average. He's second in the league in shots. Again,
Ovechkin had coming into tonight's game, 86. The next closest on his team is 36.
More than twice the next cap. 6 minutes and 5 seconds to go in our third period. Stay with us once matters are done here at MCI Center. Our post-game show on OLN as Clark cruises in 3-on-1. Clark with a drive and a good blocker pass save by Sean Burke. Burke back into active duty after missing 7 games. He was hobbling around with a groin muscle injury. He has looked sharp.
That was another big save. I mean, that's a real tide turner and a tying game goal if it goes in.
Chris Clark wipes out, then looks for the late guy Pettinger, and then he wrong-sided him with a pass.
Chris Clark was in. He was in cold. He's trying to turn the corner, and he blew a tire. That one had a chance to go in alone on Sean Burke, and he fell down.
Washington Capitals lost a pair of one-goal decisions to the New Jersey Devils last weekend. At the outset of the year, they won 6 of their first 7. They're in a one-goal duel right now with the defending Stanley Cup champions. Glenn Hanlon, their head coach, says that Tampa always brings the best out of them. Washington has counted itself well.
Battling, and they've been down on the chasing Tampa the whole time, but they're still only 1 behind on the scoreboard. They had a good chance to tie it up there, and they are pushing.
Flefish and Fleischman, the 2 young natives of the Czech Republic, out there with Andrew Castles. And here comes Brad Richards, who's made some electrifying moves tonight. Muir on the hand-to-head. Muir turned back by Artukin. Evgeny Artukin content to place it back behind Brent Johnson's net. 31-30, Washington out-shooting Tampa Bay, but trailing on the big board by 1. Ovechkin darting in, getting a little fancy there against Kubina, and Kubina rode him off the angle.
That was a good, solid defensive play. A little bit of razzle-dazzle by Ovechkin. Wasn't going to catch the eye of Kubina. Kubina buried him after he made that little move in between his feet.
Seaback and Morrison tiptoe into the corner. It squirts loose. The Capitals pounce on it and play it on out. We are 5-on-5. There have not been a lot of power plays in this hockey game. We have been cruising right along with the NHL on OLN. Just under 4 minutes to go in regulation. Buckle up. Down the stretch in a moment in D.C.
Vincent Lecavalier has truly become a star. He has really matured. A Stanley Cup win, MVP on Team Canada in the World Cup. He and his coach, John Tortorella, have gone at it in the past. John Tortorella has made him a better player. He is a better two-way player, and he admits that. But you know what? LeCavalier competes in a lot of ways. There's only been one fight this year, right, for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was LeCavalier against Andy Sutton in Atlanta. Andy Sutton is 6'6", 245. In fact, LeCavalier has dropped the gloves a couple of times. Murray fought Jerome McGinley in the Stanley Cup Finals. He's fought Zdeno Chara of Ottawa, who's 6'6" and about 1 million pounds too.
I'll say. But LeCavalier bought into what Tortorella was preaching, and a lot like Dallas situation where Modano bought in for Ken Hitchcock, and even further back, Yzerman and Scotty Bowman. And as you see, championships come from franchise players like that.
Very good point. Great talent. Offensive talent is only half the package.
Ovechkin sliding inside. That got a lot of the post. And oh my, Ovechkin crashed head first into the boards, and he is down in a heap.
He went in backwards. He's playing that game of chicken, trying to drive in off the wing. Oh, he's okay. Thank goodness for that. And he got shut down. He simply ran out of room, and he still tried to stuff the puck in on his backhand. And he wailed off the side of the net and into the boards. He's against Saric right there. Saric did a good job against him. There's nothing wrong against that play. Saric cut him off, leaned in. Well, you know what? Now that I look at that, he did tweak him with the back of his leg there. And when contact is made right here, he did pull the feet out from underneath Ovechkin. Ovechkin loses his balance, goes in backwards, whacks his head, and he's still none the worse for wear.
And all the DC hockey fans exhale as he got right back up after a little time down and made his way on his own power to the bench. 3:15 to go, third period. Washington now 5 games below 500, first time in the first 6 weeks of the fall NHL season. Tampa Bay with a victory would get back to 500 as the net once again is knocked off of its moorings.
Boy, a lot of collisions going on. Sean Burke going, what the heck is going on here? And the goalies have talked a lot about that. There have been sequences where goalies in games right across the National Hockey League, West Coast, East Coast, in the middle, you know, they get upset with guys crashing into the crease and taking the goaltenders with them. In this last case, Sean Burke didn't get whacked, but a lot of times, talking to Ole Kolzig this morning, the Washington Capitals backup goaltender who is injured right now, said he's had games where he's been banged into 4, 5, 6 times, and it's not even the guy with the puck who's coming at him or over him. It's the offside guy. That's what he objects to. So it's caught the eye of the referees and the NHL, and they've tried to crack down on guys literally crashing the net.
They wanted to contribute to the amount of injuries for NHL netminders.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Ole said with all the power plays this year, goaltenders having to work so quick from left to right and right to left, that's increased the groin muscle injuries of the netminders.
Yeah, hamstrings and groins, a lot to do with the second, third, and fourth chances, sometimes even more, that goaltenders face, especially on power play situations. The quick, lightning quick moves they have to make from left to right, pushing off side to side, and kicking those legs off. Has caused a lot of those injuries.
Tampa Bay wiped out a 6-game losing skid. Last night they beat Philadelphia. This evening they're trying to erase a 4-game road losing streak. They've got a 3-2 lead with just over 2 minutes to go. Our post-game show on OLN coming up in just a few moments. Bill Clement, Neil Smith, Keith Jones talking about these topics and a whole bunch more. Taking a dive, maybe Sean Avery included in that list. The conversation with Alexander Ovechkin continues. We're chock full of highlights too, and news of a big NHL trade involving Sergei Fedorov moving to the Central Division. Hopefully I've whet your appetite enough to hang in there with us. And post-game show on OLN.
And no, it's not back to Detroit.
Richards leaning in on Light. Washington in good defensive posture there. Muir made the defensive play. Ovechkin out there with Like and Wilsey. 1:44 to go regulation time. We'll keep an eye on Brent Johnson to see when he is lifted for the extra skater. Tampa Bay has split with Washington in the early going this year. Lost here on a shootout 3-2. Beat them at home at the St. Pete Times Forum 4-2. And isn't it great, Ryan, to see the St. Pete Times Forum just about each and every night better than 20,000 strong in attendance.
Well, that's outstanding. They have such a great team playing for them. They should.
Ovechkin to the outside. He scores! Alexander Ovechkin rides again.
outstanding individual talent. Alexander Ovechkin, who just had a crash and burn, making the same kind of move. He comes in from a bad angle against the same guy, Corey Sarich. Sarich keeps him to the outside again, but Ovechkin says, not this time. I'm going to shoot it first. Backhand, top shelf, short side. Is that energy? Is that talent? Alexander Ovechkin, tie game, 3-3.
That is 14 now for him, Brian. He's top 5 on the NHL overall leaderboard. He was the fastest player to 13 since Robbie Gaudreau with the San Jose Sharks back in '93. He's gone one better than that, and he has lifted the Caps fans out of their seats, tying the score late in regulation at 18:45.
And the first 2 or 3 times that he drove to the net, he literally took it right to the paint. That time he showed Sean Burke a different look. Sean Burke almost bracing himself for the Ovechkin collision, puck, body, and all. And he went and surprised him and shot the puck early, top shelf.
Johnson nearly a miscommunication there with Morrison as Andrechuk rams one wide. We are 3-3, 40 seconds to go in regulation. The NHL on OLN. The Caps have sent it the length. This will be an icing, and the Caps will not be allowed to make a line change.
Good point by you. New rule in the National Hockey League, when you're under pressure, you can take an icing call. It comes back in your own end, but you can't put new players out, which means Alexander Ovechkin can't come out yet. Glenn Hanlon is going to call a timeout and give his players a rest, I do believe. Yes, they are calling a timeout because he does have some tired players out there. They iced the puck, and they can't make a line change. Glenn Hanlon, now that his team has tied the game up, a very smart use of a timeout here, and gives his guys a breather for 30 seconds or so because they have to go right back out.
Brian Moore, Alexander Ovechkin brilliance here.
Now watch the move he makes and watch the release on the shot. We'll see Sean Burke on the short side going down. Burke was down a little bit early there. Alexander Ovechkin on the backhand, top shelf, short side. It's really hard to get the puck up that quickly on the backhand. You can see the curve on his stick. He has a pretty decent curve on it. I was looking at it this morning when it was sitting on the stick wrap. In order to get the puck elevated like that on the short side, he has to get the puck back. Thanks for turning your stick, Alex. That a boy. You get the puck on the back half, right near the heel. That can allow you to get the puck airborne quickly enough to get it up in the top corner.
How about that? The good thing about the youngster is he listens to you. Sean Burke back to the paint. Jeff Halpern back to the face-off spot. Only Brind'Amour and Koivu take more draws than Halpern. Halpern lost it here late in regulation. 30 seconds to go. 3-3 hockey game in D.C. Washington in the black sweaters, entertaining the Stanley Cup champs. Second game in as many nights for Tampa Bay. Washington's been off since Saturday afternoon. Kubina makes a break for it, and there's a late penalty call here. A holding call coming at 19:45.
Is it Pavel Kubina going to go? No, it's Freddie Modine. Fred Modine is going to the penalty box for a hook. So a crucial set of circumstances here. John Tortorella not happy, grimacing a little, more than a little. 14 seconds to go. To the right side of your screen, that's the hook or trip. It was actually a strip by number 33 in white. He got his stick in there, but he also used his hands. So Washington on the power play.
10 seconds left to go in the third period. A late power play chance that would trickle over into overtime if we go there. Ovechkin shakes the one-time blast. And the siren goes. 60 minutes complete at MCI Center. And we'll need overtime and perhaps more. Alexander Ovechkin, jubilant for Washington in the comeback effort. To OT we go.
Bueno, I told you to the left, a la izquierda. ¿De izquierda? Follow me. Bueno, this Palenque. Hope you enjoy it. Hey.
Only in Mexico will people go to any extreme to help you discover the extraordinary. Mexico, beyond your expectations.
60 minutes complete. Joe Beninati, Brian Engblom upstairs. Chris Simpson has been working ringside for us. The NHL on OLN, and we've got a good one.
Oh, we ever. And Alexander Ovechkin, who we've talked about all night. We've talked about him in the open. Beat Sean Burke on that last play. That was a beautiful move. The energy by Ovechkin, the reaction shot of him jumping into the glass afterwards. That's the kind of unbridled joy that you just love at the National Hockey League level.
The Caps are the kings of the one-goal decision. All of their wins have been come from behind. You saw the 2 wins for Washington in their overtime record. Both of those via the shootout. One of those right here at the expense of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We are not in shootout time yet. We are, however, 4-on-3 for Washington in the black. Brent Johnson and Sean Burke, the net-minding duel, has also been a good one.
I think these 4-on-3 power plays are a lot of times the most effective. Sometimes when you get 5-on-3, you try to move it around too much. Here, there's plenty of open ice to work with the 4-on-3 if they can get it in and get under control. And you get some great scoring chances because there's so much room. Only 3 defenders out there for Tampa.
Muir, Ovechkin, Castles, Halpern, 4 in the black for Washington. Tampa Bay comes back with Saric, Andrechuk, and Sador for the moment, penalty killing.
That was kind of a brain cramp coming up the ice there. Brian Muir with a bad pass. That's a valuable time wasted on a bad pass in the neutral zone.
Castles carving into the offensive end. Muir keeps it on the boards. Shaded there by Andrechuk. Ovechkin next in line. In overtime on the power play is Washington. Ryan Muir settles with 55 seconds to work. Ovechkin one-timer. Right on. Stop. And Burke got a chunk on Halpern on the rebound. This one leaves the rink for the whistle.
I'm a little shocked at Dave Andrechuk being aggressive as he is. He was way out on the point guys. It's a 4-on-3 situation. He's so far away from his own net. The Tampa Bay Lightning have not killed penalties that well this year. They've been getting burned lately, and I just don't understand why he's out that high. You could see him forcing right out by the blue line, which really opens things up in front of the net. It very nearly cost a winning goal.
Brian, it was played with a high stick, the puck was, hence the face-off all the way back in the Washington zone, which will help the Lightning penalty killers here. As they are a man short, Modine in the box for another 38 seconds. We're into the 2nd minute of sudden death overtime. The NHL on OLN in D.C. tonight. The Caps and the Lightning locked up at 3. Sador and Saric out there. Daryl Sador hot-foots it ahead of a diving Jeff Halpern. Taylor looking after Ovechkin. Alexander Ovechkin tying the game very late. Ovechkin, more than a third of the Caps' goals on the season come from number 8. Castles cradling it with that good patience, tried to sift it through Sador, nothing doing. Fuhrer trying to create a 2-on-1. Ovechkin deflection try Halpern, he was alone. It got glass. Long drive knocked down, Lightning back to even strength. We go 4-on-4 for 3 minutes remaining in sudden death. Sador wanting a breather, crashed it all the way down. It's going to be icing, and again, the Lightning can't change.
Corey Saric just buried Jeff Halpern along the boards. Halpern going back to the bench. He's not hurt, but he's hurting. Corey Saric in a tough sequence there. When he gets a chance to finish somebody along the wall, he does a number on him. He's a big man. He's strong. You have to know when to pick your spots and where. He knows Jeff Halpern plays a lot of offensive situations. Halpern was along the wall, and he busted him one.
Washington and Tampa Bay concluding matters from the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. Stay with us. Our post-game show on OLN coming your way soon. Details of a big trade in the NHL. Brooks Laich with a bomb that's knocked down by Burke. John Burke, 34 stops in this one. 4-on-4 hockey. Prospal has been white hot, working with LeCavalier. LeCavalier steps to the outside. Brent Johnson was waiting at the post. Prospal. A pass that it was intended for Boyle, knocked aside, galloping on. Here comes Eminger. And at the line, Laich is in offside. Vincent LeCavalier a few moments ago showing off a little of his own stick handling.
Watch my hands, watch my hands. He tries to sneak around the outside, but good work there by Morrison, making sure that he knows that Vinny LeCavalier is not getting to the net with the puck. Had Morrison looked down and tried to sneak a peek or steal that puck or assume something was going to happen, what the important thing is keeping that body to the outside. Morrison did that to LeCavalier, and you can make all the fancy plays you want. You're only going to end up in the corner.
Jeff Halpern for Washington, sneaking his way in. Wilsey throws it to space, looking for Brendan Witt. Just a bit strong. Witt on a takeaway. Ladles it for Wilsey to the front. Stopped there by Burke. A gem on Halpern. Sean Burke with a huge stop.
Halpern didn't have much room to work with, Joe. He was right on the doorstep. He was right in the blue paint. There's going to be a trip.
Kubina upended by Eminger, and that potent Tampa Bay power play with all of its weapons comes back on ice.
4-on-3 situation it will be for Tampa. Eminger going in opposite directions of Kubina. And this happens so much. When you're going in opposite directions trying to hit somebody, if that guy puts a move on you, usually an elbow slips out or a leg or a stick, and that time it was a stick from Eminger. So he'll sit it out for the next two. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Tortorella's boys with some pretty good talent up front. LeCavalier, Richards, Dave Andreychuk out there to get the face-off, and Pavel Kubina back on the point.
Turnabout is fair play. The Lightning endured a little bit of a 4-on-3 at the start of overtime, and now the Caps have to endure it to get us to the shootout. 3-3. Kubina, Andreychuk, Richards, and LeCavalier in the white sweaters. Richards, such an effective player. Whenever he puts a goal on the board, the Lightning are usually victors.
They want this to flow through Richards. Richards has got the most skill at playmaking. That's why he's back on the point, or he's got a bullet shot.
Richards for the one-timer. We saw a lot of that in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Kubina steps in, rockets one. It's knocked away by Brent Johnson.
Sotheby's made some great defensive plays, including the original face-off and then that block on Richards.
Under a minute to go in the overtime. Still power play for Tampa Bay. Richards closing. Kubina inching towards that net. Richards waits. Andreychuk takes one step. Stopped by Johnson. The rebound was denied too.
Johnson looked behind him. He made the first two saves off the stick of Andreychuk. Looked behind them. The puck was still in front of him.
LeCavalier late in his line shift, a bit tired. Brendan Witt will send Tampa Bay packing. Kubina moving back to the Washington side of the table. Just meandering his way in. Slots it for Richards. Good pass. There's Andreychuk, and Johnson took the angle away well.
Great save there by Brent Johnson. Really good read, because Brad Richards, who was an excellent shooter of the puck, was dead center. He faked like he was going to take the slap shot and had a good angle, the perfect angle. But Richards chose to change the angle. Right here, he's going to get it. I'm faking it, getting it over to Andreychuk. Dave Andreychuk, the second highest scoring left winger of all time, with a chance to throw it upstairs on Brent Johnson, and Johnson fought that shot off.
Brent Johnson with 31 stops to his credit. Now the Lightning will gather around the bench. They'll take the timeout. 3-3 for Washington and Tampa Bay. In this game, Alexander Ovechkin tied it late in regulation. And Brian, he's had a way of beating Sean Burke this year.
Well, here's a shootout goal that he scored against Sean Burke earlier this season. What a move that was. And then driving in off the wing again. We've seen him doing it all night. These are previous games this season, and this is tonight's goal that tied it up. So Alexander Ovechkin seems to have the feel against Sean Burke. There's only 19 seconds in this overtime period for him to do anything, and he's not going to do anything from there because he's on the bench.
Alexander grew up idolizing Owen Nolan. Used to put himself on the line with Nolan in the video games when he was growing up in Russia. Kubina sets it. LeCavalier bombs away, and that gets glass. 10 seconds left in overtime. Washington still a man short. Richards sets up LeCavalier. They come cross rink. Good read there as the OT has 2.9 left in it.
Is there a penalty on the play? I'm not sure why the whistle. I was shocked that the whistle went. I thought time was going to go out in regulation. Yes. It is a high sticking call.
Greg Kimmerly and Dan Maruelli, the referees, conferring as Glenn Hanlon sets up his defensive alignment. All this with just 2.9 seconds separating us from a shootout in D.C. Modine, Fedotenko, and Modine again for the Lightning. Clymer, Muir, and Ovechkin in support of Brent Johnson.
So it was just knocked down by a high stick. Here's the goal cam. Oh, okay, there it is. There is the penalty. Okay. Brent Johnson somewhat angry. Now we finally, that's why I was confused. I thought they said it was a high sticking call. It looked like a penalty call. but nobody was going to the penalty box. That's why, because it was on the goaltender and they had to wait to send somebody in.
Not a lot of time with which to work for Tampa Bay. 2.9 seconds, face-off just in the offensive zone.
They're going to try and slap it over here to Vinny LeCavalier for another shot. Well, no time.
And in overtime, they reposition players back. You can't have a 4-on-2. We finished up 5-on-3 there. But in overtime, nothing is settled. So that means we go to the Powerade shootout in just a few moments on OLN. The NHL on OLN going to a Powerade shootout. And the Zambonis have taken the ice here at MCI Center to smooth things out, make a nice runway for these shooters who are going to look to bring their team to victory tonight.
And Alexander Ovechkin just checking the tape, making sure everything's tight and buttoned down. The Zambonis get out there so that, they can fix that ice just down that slot area so guys like Ovechkin can make the moves they want. At the end of the game, of course, the ice is so beaten up and chewed up and there's big ruts in it that if you just left all the snow on it, it would be a huge advantage for the goaltender. This way, with the Zambonis coming out and taking a couple of swipes down the ice, it cleans it up, takes some of that loose snow off and allows Dave Anderchuk or whoever it is that's going to be for the Lightning to get out there and make their best move.
The Lightning have lost twice in the shootout this fall. Daniel Briere, the Buffalo Sabres, sending them crashing down to defeat. And in this building, Peter Sikora put the defending champs away. Washington has beaten Tampa and beaten Atlanta in the shootout. And it should be said, they have used the outstanding goaltending of Ole Kolzig in those two shootouts. Kolzig in his career, Brian, in the shootout and against penalty shots in regulation, has stopped 12 of 14. He's not in there tonight. He's missing a game with a hamstring injury.
Well, before we had shootout situations, this is the first year we've ever had it in the National Hockey League. Before that, you only had penalty shots. And the penalty shots would always go heavily in favor of goaltenders. They would stop way more shots than goal scorers would ever score.
We see the shootout order for Washington. Ovechkin has buried both of his shootout chances. Vinny LeCavalier will start things for Tampa Bay. It'll be the two Vinnies to get things going for Tampa.
Most guys that I've talked to, most shooters that I've talked to, Joe, say they usually have a predetermined plan. Okay, I'm going to make a move. I'm going to use my favorite move, or no, I don't feel it. I'm just going to shoot the puck. Now, if something changes at the last second and the goaltender does something or shows them something they didn't expect, then yeah, you could always change at the last second. But most guys I talk to have a preset play in their mind before they hit the net.
Vincent LeCavalier, with all that reach, Brian, you would imagine he's a very good deker.
Yep, that's true. And usually the best ones are not the ultra fancy ones where you come and dip and dive about 8 times. If a player is going to make a move and not shoot, it's usually one good, concise move, and it's about the shot. I mean, you've got to bury the shot. If you're going to go 5-hole, you've got to hit that little target between the pads. If you're going to go upstairs, you have to control the puck, get that high trajectory, and get it up under the box.
Both teams have earned a point in the standings. Vincent LeCavalier will start the Powerade shootout for Tampa Bay. Against Brent Johnson. LeCavalier. No!
You know what? He had him. He had him. That's why he's so frustrated. Looking at his stick, but he knows it was his hands. He had him beaten. There was room on that side. It was one good, concise move, but he missed the shot. Watch him come in here and make the move. Watch Brent Johnson. Brent Johnson did not get over nearly far enough, nearly fast enough. LeCavalier actually had more time than he thought, and he missed the shot.
Let's see if Alexander Ovechkin is still in the mind of Sean Burke. As the Caps look to take the lead with the young Russian phenom waltzing in. He scored!
In the package that we showed you a few moments ago, he gave that pump fake to Sean Burke and went on his backhand. The previous time he had a penalty or shootout shot on him. This time he gave the pump fake and went upstairs with the shot. So a little bit of game of chess going on here. There's the pump fake. Sean Burke wasn't ready. It was the perfect shot in the crook of the arm. Advantage, Alexander Ovechkin.
And now Vinny Prospal, 11 games consecutive point scoring streak. Moving in to the backhander, he stops.
The same type of move tried by Vinny Prospal as Vincent LeCavalier did. One good, concise move to the backhand. This time Johnson got farther over, and that left leg looked awfully long. Watch Johnson, the goaltender, track. Oh, that's really good. I still think there was room up there, but Vinny Prospal did not get the puck high enough, fast enough either.
Washington trying to be just the second team to have 3 shootout wins. They'll do it if Wilsey scores. He does not. Missing high glove.
Wilsey looked like he was going to shoot all the way there. Sean Burke in good position. Wilsey didn't get much to shoot at. Tried to cut it a little bit too finely there. Tried to go upstairs, top shelf, then he just missed.
And now a defenseman will try to keep things alive for Tampa Bay. Pavel Kubina will work a little game of one-on-one against Brent Johnson. Kubina poke check, and the Capitals win.
That was an outstanding poke check. Brent Johnson was ready for that move all the way. He seemed to know beforehand what was going to happen. He shot that stick out. Great poke check there by Brent Johnson. Washington win.
The fans inside of MCI Center saluting the Caps. A come-from-behind win, and Brent Johnson backstops it in the shootout.
Brent Johnson seemed to know exactly what he wanted to do before Pavel Kubina knew what Kubina wanted to do. He tries to conceal it, that he's going to go to the backhand. Brent Johnson obviously read something. He could read his mind, I guess. He was right.
Washington picks up win number 7. Tampa Bay falls to its 3rd shootout loss. 4-3 Washington. We'll be back with more from MCI Center. The Washington Capitals have been the come-from-behind kids this fall. 6 weeks into a regular season, and another shootout victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning by the final of 4-3. Brian, it was one again for Caps fans that took their breaths away.
That was a fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, the first half of the game was pretty careful. There weren't a lot of scoring chances. Both teams, had a little bit of flurries of action. Boy, it got ramped up in the second part of the game. Individual efforts, which we love in the National Hockey League right now. Alexander Ovechkin was, I think, still the most exciting player on the ice. He scored a great goal to tie things up. Vinny Prospal with some individual efforts along with LeCavalier. But the bottom line here is the Washington Capitals come through with a really good win here.
For defenses that are lining up against Ovechkin, how do they need to respond to him? He's obviously made a big splash in the NHL. How do the defenses react?
Ovechkin is somebody that you just have to find a way to defense, and I think we have him downstairs, don't we?
Alexander Ovechkin, the hero, downstairs with our Chris Simpson.
Thanks very much, guys. Well, a big win over the defending Stanley Cup champs. You didn't make it easy. You sure made it exciting, though, Alex.
Yeah, we were excited. We lose 3-2 after third period, and we try to score goals because I think we play very well today, and all guys want to win today.
Now, before we get to the shootout goal, though, tell me about the goal that sent this game into overtime. That was quite a celebration we saw.
I was lucky. I don't know. When I shot it, I don't know. Nice goal.
I was going to say, what goes through your mind? I mean, did you know exactly what you wanted to do before you even started the play?
Yeah, when I go to shootout, I know what I'm doing, and sometimes I'm thinking maybe I shot, maybe I do something more, and I'm thinking a lot about it.
Well, a big win, a great 2 goals for Alexander Ovechkin. Thanks for this and congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, guys, now we're going to send it back to Bill in the OLN studios.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. Neil Smith, you still don't like shootouts, huh?
No, I don't. I still don't like them, but I'll tell you what.
Why I oughta?
He's sitting on the edge of his seat. Now he's complaining about it.
There you go. We got lots to talk about in our post-game coverage, including diving in the NHL and Sean Avery getting fined for it and mouthing off and getting fined again. But the real story of our show tonight has to be number 8 for the Washington Capitals. It's too early to call him great. He sure was great tonight. Alexander Ovechkin scored with 1:15 to go to tie the game that sent it into OT. Guess who's the only guy that scored in overtime? The one man that was enough for Washington to win. Alexander, back after this. Well, unless you're a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, a spectacular finish to the game that we had for you that had the Washington Capitals winning it in a shootout after forcing overtime. Alexander Ovechkin. How about the Washington Caps? They're 3-0 in shootouts. Alexander Ovechkin now has 3 shootout goals. He's 3 for 3 and leads all NHL shootout shooters. And you talked about it during the game. He's more than just a scorer, but that's what he had to be to win this for Washington.
He has everything you want. The courage that he shows when he drives to the front of the net. When you see the tape of this kid driving to the front of the net, trying to score goals, he does everything you want in a hockey player. He's got the speed, but look, you got to be a brave guy to go in like this. He's down on the ice for a few seconds. He doesn't stay down long. Gets back up, and look at this, 1-on-3 around, and has enough sense to get the backhand up in the air with Sean Burke down.
And we said to beat the Washington Capitals, you got to keep that guy off the scoreboard. You can't keep him off the scoreboard in a shootout, though. He drilled that one in. That was an amazing goal.
Well, we also talked about the Tampa Bay Lightning and where this would leave them if they could win again. Remember, they had lost 6 straight until they won at home against Philadelphia last night. Now they've lost another hockey game. Are they still a team in trouble,
Well, I
Jonesy?
thought their goaltender, I thought Sean Burke played well tonight. I thought they did a good job staying out of the penalty box for the most part tonight, and that's something that John Tortorella has been preaching over the last few games. They're missing St. Louis. They got a couple of goals from Freddie Modine. But this is a game they have to win against this Capitals team. You said it all night, Bill. You got to shut down Ovechkin. They didn't do the job defensively against a great player.
I just didn't see the fire in this team either. The fire of a team that won the Stanley Cup.
And that's what John Tortorella says is missing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the one thing that you've got to wonder about the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Tortorella has a style. He's very much on his team. He's hard on his team. He's hard on his team. Is he wearing them out a little bit mentally? Is he just wearing them down?
Well, the fact remains the defending champs are a sub-500 hockey team, and we're almost at the quarter pole of the season. Okay, we want to check in with some other action around the NHL. In Buffalo, it was 2-1 Sabres against the New Jersey Devils until Chris Drury threaded one, and that made it 4-0, or at least that was his 4th goal of the season. That was a rebound goal. Look at this shot by Daniel Briere, his 11th goal, his team leading 11th goal. The Buffalo Sabres had only won 1 of their last 6 games, and the Devils had won 2 straight. The final in that one, Buffalo 4, and the Devils 1. Also, the New York Rangers, #1 team in the Atlantic Division, in Toronto. And how about Brian McCabe?
Wow, what a shooter this guy. We talked about offensive defensemen in the intermission. This guy's got a laser beam.
There is one for Brian McCabe on the power play. It was 1-0 Toronto. Going into the second period, Jaromir Jagr.
What a great combination. Again, Michael Nylander knows how to find Jagr. These two guys are going to get a lot of points.
And then in the third period, this looks like a carbon copy. Is that not a replay of the McCabe goal in the first period? He scored a second power play goal to make it 2-1. And then this goal by Marcel Hossa of the New York Rangers was called back. Brian McCabe, this is a final, now leads all defensemen in the NHL in goals, assists, and points. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have defeated the New York Rangers 2-1. Well, last week we left you with a question on our OLNTV.com poll. Which goalie will get the most votes for Rookie of the Year? The votes are in. They've been tabulated. We'll have the results as long as the Chads are in order when we come back. Chads.